Well, at least you have an edit point to when the show starts.
That's true.
And it's after that comment.
That is a very, very good point.
Press start.
All right, well, let's start episode 154. My name's Tim. I'm here with Kyle, who's got an awesome Cyberpunk shirt on today. I dig it. I like that shirt. Nice. We also got Derek, who has a shirt on, that's all we need from him. It doesn't matter
a positive change. Yeah.
what the shirt is the shirt.
2 minutes ago, I wasn't wearing it, so I literally did it for you guys.
What an upgrade.
Thanks, buddy. Wow. Thanks, buddy. And we've got Jeff, who I never have to worry about him being clothed or saying
making
something.
a statement with my clothes. It's always solid colors. There's no agenda with my clothes. Never.
It's just you're consistent, you know?
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
All reliable. All faithful. So here we are talking about a couple of big games that came out this week. One that we've known about, has been hyped for a long time. And the other one is actually a remaster that I'm really pumped about that I'll talk about a little bit. That was a surprise drop thanks to Nintendo this week. So we'll talk about that too. But I want to kick things off. I had a game in mind, but with the Nintendo Direct, with all the news, with the big games we're talking about.
And the demos, no kidding.
So many demos to cover. Dude. I just figured, let's just talk about games we're playing and stuff we're into right now. And we'll circle back with a quiz or a fun little game. If you want one of those, go check out last week's episode. I really enjoyed our Try Hard Tracker segment. That's going to make a comeback.
That was so fun.
We will definitely bring that back at some point. But anyway, let's jump right into Hogwarts Legacy. So this game came out this week. It technically launched today. We're recording on Friday,
True,
February 10th. But I think all of us got the Deluxe Edition, right, to play it early.
Played early, yes. Yeah.
So we've been playing it for several days now, and boy, are we having a good time. This is a really good video game, and it is awesome. Now, are we all on PS5? I know Derek can play PS5 because I bought it, and we game share, but everyone else on PS5?
Yeah, I'm on PS5.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't trust PC ports on open world games that are from like unproven. Not that they're on an unproven developer, but they certainly haven't done a game like this. So like, I didn't trust the PC port at all. Like, I was just like, no, not gonna risk it. I'm gonna go console.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah,
so far it's been good.
They've been very console centric, right? As a developer, like I don't think they've
Disney Infinity. I mean, like that was.
Yeah, Disney Infinity was on PC.
I don't think it was on PC. Okay, yeah.
But scope-wise, it wasn't the same size as.
Not at all. Like it was big, open, like
PC
playgrounds. So like they kind of had an idea of like how to fill
they're
like a hub area with like activities.
Gotcha. But they're like worlds, right? They're worlds you go to.
Yeah, worlds.
Kind of like Disney Dreamlight Valley.
And like by pretty big, I don't mean like as big as Hogwarts, obviously, but like
you're like
open
areas.
Yeah, they're like open areas with lots of activities and things to do. So
it just felt like leading up to it felt like just a daunting game for them to achieve any success with. But
I thought they were never going to fill the shoes with just their, not that they have a bad pedigree, but again, just the scope of what they're used to.
This kind of is like I'm gonna forget their name, but you guys will know who I'm talking about. Going to Horizon from
Killzone, Guerrilla Games. That was Guerrilla.
So Guerrilla Games, I know when they first made the announcement, a lot of people were like, especially since their last Killzone wasn't that great. So a lot of people didn't have a lot of faith that they could do something completely different, open world, and they did. To me, they nailed it. This same thing with this game. Like, I'm only a few hours in, but the biggest thing that I was going to say in the context of what we're talking about is I was playing tonight right before we recorded, and I was like, this game is way bigger than I thought it was going to be.
Like, I actually thought that like a part of the map that I was on was the whole map, and then like I hit down a little more, and then kept on hitting down and down and down, and I was like, oh, and then there's all the up, like it was. Yeah. I don't know, maybe 8 times. It was literally 8 times bigger than I thought it originally was. So cool. I didn't scroll across the entire map.
I envisioned this game, like when they announced it and they started showing it, I was like, okay, it's it's gonna have like a little school area, and then they're probably gonna have like open areas that you can like transport to, and then you can kind of
what I thought.
Go around and look around at. But I'm like, No, this is.
I thought it would be a loading screen to Hogsmeade and a loading screen to like the forest portion.
Open world.
It's so open world, and yeah, at the sacrifice of like some doors being like 1 or 2 second like loading, but like that doesn't bother me, I guess, as much as I saw some reviews
it's
bothering
the
them.
sneaky loading, and I'm here
it's sneaky loading, and it's fine. It does
like
bring the game to a halt, but I almost never notice it.
They slow you down to load the screen.
God of War Ragnarok did it right, as he had to scooch between a cart.
Yeah, there's no scooching loading. At all.
It's not scooch loading.
There's just genuine loading. Like you can see a circle and you're like, oh, it's loading. Yeah, there's no pretending. Like when it's loading.
Yeah, but I'm okay with that because once you realize how big the scope of the world is and how many random things are happening all around you from like people
especially when you finally because I have a broom now at this point that you can just summon anywhere in the world. So once you're outside of the castle, that's really when the loading happens the most. Is when you're in Hogwarts, which is already a big map on its own with several floors. Right. Once you go outside, that's when the loading mostly happens, is when it's like, oh, we got to render this real quick. Hold on. But as soon as you jump on that broom and fly around, there's no loading. It's just you flying around infinitely. And it blows my mind. It just
wasn't that a cool mission? Like once I got on the broom, I was just like, oh, this feels really good. Which like, you never know. You never know how traversal is going to feel in like games.
Yeah, that was the thing that I was like, I don't know how this is going to feel to control. Why? Because flying is always a crapshoot with some games. Like it's just... True. That could be the one thing that prevents the game from being truly great is like, well, the flying is awful. Like early GTA games. I hated flying in those games.
It's not fun to fly like in San Andreas, but it is horrible. In GTA 5, But there was bad ones
exactly.
Time,
It's more arcadey in GTA 5 and achievable. Whereas before, I'm like, this is a flying mission. Oh God!
Yeah.
Whereas I'm like, let me just summon my broom and just fly. Like I'll fly anywhere. It's so much.
Which should be fun. I mean, that's like one of
there's a lot of like fun first like philosophy in this game. Like we just want this to be fun. And it's all over it, and I think the fandom's all over it too. And it feels like just a love letter to a bunch of people who really like this world and stuff like that. And it's cool, man. Like it's blowing me away. Tim, how much have you played of it? I don't think I've even talked to you much about in the chat outside of just a couple things. But like, how far are you? And
pretty early. I did a lot of wandering and exploring the school because I love the verticality of it. Like, there's so many flights of stairs to go up and down. I was like, dude, how is this game so big?
Cool
so I was just going on finding pages and like exploring stuff and adding to my field guide. I kept finding all the field guide pages and like I was just doing that stuff. Did a couple of like
that feels good. Yeah.
Friendly missions where you have to lead the moth with your Lumos back to the frame and like just little missions like that.
You'll find those everywhere.
I think I played for like probably an hour, maybe hour and a half before
you solved it.
I did. Yeah.
I did.
You being a naughty boy? Yeah, you're being a bad boy.
So before I even went to Hogsmeade, which is kind of where the main narrative starts to take a little bit of shape. You kind of start to meet some key players.
There is a big fight there.
By the way,
before I even did that, I didn't even I was just wandering the school exploring. I did 2 classes, then I was just like I was already doing open worldy type stuff just in that one section of this massive game. So I just yesterday got past the Hogsmeade part. So there's a big fight there and some stuff happens, and then you go back to the school after all that happens.
You learn some names. Mainly that's what the narrative, the intro to Hogsmeade is like. Once you do the big fight, you just learn some names of some people that are going to pop up regularly.
And a main character that kind of makes a return from the intro sequences. There's some... Anyway, so I thought it was really good. I thought so far it's really fun, but I have not gotten to I'm not even close to the broom part, I don't think. I'm, not to the point where it feels like an open world game, but when you walk to Hogsmeade with your friend that you pick to go with, and they're just kind of pointing stuff out. There's the forest. Oh, Hogsmeade is ahead, and you can actually see it as you get closer to it. And the
that's insane.
Bigger. That's when I realized the scope of this thing is for real.
Right.
Yeah.
I really thought it would just be like, hey, wait for me by the entrance, and then as soon as you step out the doors, it's like loading to Hogsmeade.
Same. I didn't think this was all going to be connected in any way.
I wouldn't have been mad if that's what it was, because that's what
I thought. Me neither. Yeah.
That's what I was expecting. Yeah.
But I was delighted to find, no, you can actually... You can walk there or eventually fly.
And when you do get to the open world stuff, which I'm kind of in the middle of doing now, because now I'm getting all these missions, side quests. They're side quests. I'm a side quest whore in this game. I love doing them. As soon as they give me a mission now, they're saying, I need you to go pick up this thing and go over here and fly it over. Basically, I want you to get on your broom and go over to discover a new area you're not in yet. You've never been in yet. And you'll pick up new side quests in those areas too. Like as soon as you land, you'll start seeing new icons and you're like, what's that? What's that? You get open world syndrome, basically, where you're like, I got, what's that? What's that?
And they said that there's hundreds of side quests, and all of them have the potential to change something about like the main quest, whether it's just dialogue or little stuff. Not in any big way. No one's gonna have different like missions or anything like that.
Somebody saw me again and was like, "Aren't you the person that did this for that other guy or whatever?" Like they were.
It's just like acknowledgement that you're doing stuff, within the main story. That if you don't do, like they won't.
It's like that's almost like The Witcher, man. Like that's that kind of
very much so.
That's world building. That's what that is.
That's what my question is, and I don't know the answer, so I'm actually asking this question. So I'm purposely treating the students like trash, except for Sebastian.
That's cool.
Because he's a trash human being too. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, I'll smart off to him a little bit, like I'm being a little secretive with him and stuff like that. But like, for instance, I told you I didn't tell the girl how I solved the riddle or whatever, and then I also got a girl's journal, and I was like, you might want to pay me some money to keep it a secret.
I'm playing it the same way, kind of.
I'm curious if
I can't. I'm just a good boy.
Dude, what did I say in the chat? I'm gonna be a bad boy wizard. I folded immediately in the game. I'm like, I'm a good guy.
You guys should see my character. I was trying to take a screenshot. For some reason, my PC was not taking a screenshot. My character's literally wearing like the black, like the one that has the skulls moving.
I like that.
That's.
I'm wearing that with the hood over it, and then I have like a red face mask. So I literally look evil. It's awesome. And all the cutscenes, I'm wearing the mask, and I've got the hood, and I'm just sitting there like, you might want to pay me money. So I don't
It almost is like a Fable type of thing where you can.
Yes, it looks
I don't
like
know.
Fable.
I don't know how much the morality system, like
that's what I'm
alters
asking.
stuff. I'm interested to see like how.
There's
how
not like a
surface level
meter in the
deep that
menus
is.
or something.
There's no tangible measurement for morality. I'm 12 hours in, and like my understanding is, because I stumbled upon, unfortunately, a key moment in the story when I was doing a Google search for something. And it was like, here's how you can do this. So apparently the decisions you make do matter later in the story. And it changes the directions of where you're going to go and stuff and how the missions are going to play out. Yeah. But outside of that, it doesn't really matter. It's not going to be like, oh, that guy's a dick. Like, you're not going to hear people chatting about you.
Yeah, and Fable, that's my favorite part is when you'd walk into town, people would be like, boo, or whatever.
It's so great.
The reason I was curious is because the way she reacted, she was so mad at me. She's like, I can't wait to write bad
I bet
things
she'll
about
remember. I imagine she'll remember. Yeah.
Well, actually, I had circumstances where the side quests were somebody who presented themselves as being bullied, asking me to go do something for them. But the way they were asking me and the tone they were asking me was like so dickish. Like they were acting so entitled and like, hey, people bully me because I got attacked by this animal and they give me a nickname or whatever. Can you go to the forest and get something for me so it makes it seem like I'm brave? And I'm like, just go do it yourself if you want to be brave. Like, that's my thought process. So I went and did the thing and came back and said, nah, I'm going to keep what I found. You need to learn how to be brave. Like, there are elements
I don't know
of
if we're talking about the same thing, but in the school, there's a girl who asked me to collect like 6 balls or whatever.
I did that.
So I got them, and then she's like, okay, give them to me. I'm like, nope, I'm going to keep them.
That person also said I'm bullied and was being kind of a dick when they were asking you to go do the thing.
Exactly. Like, I had no problem shutting her down.
They were kind of like, chip, chop, chip, go do it. Like, and you're like, who are you? Like, I just met you.
No.
Yeah. So like, and it was one of those things where the items that you were collecting were parts of a game where if you lose, you get sprayed with something smelly. So I mean, there's also an element of that where you're like, well, if they get these balls back, these marbles or whatever, then they're just going to keep playing the game and spraying people and nobody's going to like them. So I just kept the thing. Like, I just kept the stuff from them and I was like, don't play this game anymore. It's not a good game to play with. Yeah. So I'm kind of a dick in that sense, but whenever I'm presented with an option to be like, whenever it's like you get 2 options and one of them is like, yeah, let's do it, or the other one's like, oh, that sounds terrible, I avoid the, oh, that sounds terrible, because I do want to go do stuff, So there's some of it I'm not a dick towards.
Apparently you can lock yourself out of missions by like turning stuff down like that. Is what I heard. So yeah, if you're kind of negative, they'll be like, never mind.
Derek, you're in Slytherin, right?
You betcha.
Yeah.
Me too.
Jeff, you're in Slytherin. Kyle,
I deliberately answered the Sorting Hats questions in a way that I felt would land me in Slytherin. Not that any of them were nefarious questions, but I felt I knew the characteristics that belonged in Slytherin, so like I chose because I wanted this path. I wanted to be a Slytherin.
Yeah, it's fun. It's one of those things where like I know you know Harry Potter super well, so you know all the lore, but like you don't have to be a Harry Potter head to realize like Slytherin's probably the bad one. Like it sounds like
historically speaking, they are. They literally are. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just saying like that word alone is kind of a giveaway. It's like you might as well just call it like
snake.
Yeah,
Let's call him
snake or a serpent, which is classically an icon for traitors.
It's the house betrayer.
House betrayer. Yeah. If you get sorted in that house, why don't they just kill you right there? Like I don't like Slytherin. Those are bad. We have to kill you. Sorry.
What's funny is I've done the sorting thing, the official sorting thing on the Potter website. And I answered them truthfully to me, and I'm actually a Ravenclaw, which is full of. That's like the nerdy house. Like those are like they're not tryhards or anything, but they're just like nerds, and they love. The intelligence is like their main thing.
You say that's what you're in, Kyle? You're in.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Harry Potter. It's not something that I grew up with or anything like that. So all of this stuff is new to me. So like I did the test and got Ravenclaw. And I was scrolling through them. I'm like, oh, I like blue. Like that's a cool color,
it's a cool name. It's one of
the Raven or Eagle
on
there. That's cool. Freedom and all that. I'm here for that.
It's a much cooler name than Hufflepuff. I think we can.
Hufflepuff is like, no. Yeah. Are we gonna go dancing after this? No, I don't want to do this. No.
So I picked that, and like I start meeting all my classmates, and I'm like, these kids are dorks.
Yeah.
Like super dorks, and
everybody in Slytherin so far, and Derek can attest to this, like Sebastian, and then there's like a blind kid. Everybody is so angsty about something. Like they all have like this tortured past, and like they all have baggage, and they're all wearing it horribly. It's kind of funny how
that's actually cool that you guys bring that up, because I actually again didn't do any research. I'm just playing this game I've only seen, gameplay and stuff like that. And so as I was playing, I was like, oh, I bet you these characters are like the same, but they're not. And I like that. I like that you get different characters.
You even get different side quests. Yeah.
And you'll be introduced to them later.
Yeah.
Sebastian fits Slytherin so far.
But see, I've met Sebastian as a Gryffindor, just obviously through the main game kind of quest line in the story. Like I've met him now.
And you will continue to. Yeah, it doesn't matter what house you're in. Yeah, but he'll be a part of the story.
Probably talked to him in the common room already, for example.
Definitely.
He was probably in there. So that's just a cool thing. Like I talked to a kid with the last name Weasley. Shocker that a redhead named Weasley is in House Gryffindor. I know that's real shocking to those of you who watch any Harry Potters.
Yeah, he's like Gareth or something like that.
Gareth, yeah.
And so his aunt is a professor at the school.
And then there's like the quirky kid who's like the girl who's walking along top of the fireplace. Like, I just like to see things from a new perspective. Like this, they have the quirky girl in Gryffindor, and they've got the pretty girl who's like studying really hard. So they kind of have like the.
This is crazy. I've seen none of these
that
people.
Person?
This is so cool.
Yeah.
This is so rad, dude. I can't wait to genuinely I'm gonna try and beat as much of this game as possible, but I am really curious to go and play, because Gryffindor, my understanding has the most side quests. Then it's Slytherin, then Hufflepuff, then Ravenclaw has the fewest side quests. But
too smart to
they got it all figured out. Why do you need side quests?
Smart. Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't need to level up. We're ridiculously smart already.
So we've talked a lot about the open world, the design, and like the characters, the choices you can make. What about the combat? What do you guys think so far about this wand combat?
Nailed it.
It feels so good, and I did not. This is much like the open world traversal and stuff like that. This is not something I anticipated at all. I thought it would be like something.
How would you describe the combat to somebody? Like ranged with like dodging and parries a little bit.
It's like Forspoken was kind of doing that a little bit, but it feels like there's more going on in this game so far.
I almost dare say it's almost like playing like a mage, like in like a Souls game or something like that, but not obviously with things not as hard.
You're doing some dodging. You're
doing some dodging. You got some magic. You got your wand. I guess if you're spec that way and stuff like that.
Eventually, you get traits where you can upgrade your dodge to where it's a teleport, and you teleport right into an enemy.
Cool.
It's so
I forgot
cool.
the name of the game, but it was like a PS2 and Xbox 360 game. I want to say it's like Psychesis or something like that. Whatever, where you would be fighting, but you'd be able to grab Psyops, and you'd be able to throw it. So it has a lot of that.
There's some of that too. Yeah, there's a bit of every
that's
Magic.
Actually, what I love about the game is it's got a really good like counter system. So again, this comes. By the way, I've said this 1,000 times. Expectations. If you have realistic expectations, you will get blown away and you'll enjoy life more.
Yeah.
This game, I had realistic expectations. In fact, I had low expectations. I thought this would be not a cash grab, but I just didn't expect it to have this much care and love. Mm-hmm. So when I was playing it, I thought, especially coming off Forspoken, I thought this game would be boring gameplay-wise. It isn't really like Forspoken, because Forspoken's like, you're literally acrobaticing all around.
It's super fast-paced, which this really isn't, but like, boy.
But there's so much going on.
Wait until you unlock battle arenas. I just did one, and I'm like, oh my god, there's so many enemies.
like when you're fighting some of these big dudes, like what did I do tonight?
Trolls.
I did LB, RB together, and he like he takes their weapon and cuts their head off. I was like,
it's a random ancient magic like finisher. You know?
Sometimes
it's random every time. It's something different.
Yeah, it was freaking awesome. And I was like, dude,
so cool. Yeah.
Not only am I just sitting here with a wand shooting, and then I got to dodge, but I have all these different, which is to me feels RPG. You have all these different elements that you have to fight against. So some enemies are blocking with red, some are blocking with yellow, so you have to switch it up.
Yeah, so that means use a red attack or use a yellow attack.
Yeah,
exactly.
But and you would go, okay, that makes the game. That would make the game easy. But when I was just fighting in an area where I had, no lie, like 10 goblins fighting me, and most of them were melee, but I had 2 or 3 shooting at me.
Yeah, they have a variety.
2 or 3 of them in the arena had red and yellow. It gets chaotic when you're like, okay, I keep shooting at red, but I'm shooting regular. I need to switch it to a flame attack real quick just to get his shield down so I can actually hit him.
Right.
That's so cool.
So there's a lot going on, and it's not all the same. Like, you don't feel like you're doing the same. And then, like I said, as you're shooting at them, you'll see these like quick things where it'll say RB, and I'll just hit RB and it'll just grab something and throw it at them. And it's all fast. It's all fast. So I don't know, man. I'm blown away by this game. Like,
and then it has a little like Batman Arkham like sprinkled in it too, because you get this nice little very recognizable like, hey, you're about to get hit thing that goes around your head, and you just slam that button or you press it in. You press it or you hold it, and if you press
hold it to do a counter spell.
You press it, you do a quick shield, and like you'll block it, and it looks really cool, you know. Or you hold it and you like riposte back at them, and it like it's just super cool, like, and it feels good and it feels slick. So it has it's more arcadey obviously than like a Souls game, which I compared it to earlier. It's more of the tenets of a Souls game with all the evading and stuff like that, but it feels much more actiony and almost like a Batman Arkham game of wands.
It takes like a quarter health down, even at my level, because I'm at like 22, 21, 20. I'm at level 20 something, 22 and 25% completion or whatever, and even having like 800 health or whatever,
they can smack you pretty good.
Yeah, so they want you to evade for sure, block and parry.
Are you playing this on easy or normal?
Easy, yeah, but
so and they're still doing that much damage. So imagine playing it on normal.
Oh my gosh, it's gonna be like half health each hit.
The way I was talking to my son about the combat of this, because he was like, I'm not really interested, and so then I let him try it, because he has an Xbox Series S in his room. He just saved up his money from working, and he upgraded to a Series S, and so he was like thinking about maybe getting this game. He was like, I don't know, it looks like it's just kind of like I like the movies, but I don't love them. It looks like just kind of not that great. And so I let him try it on the PS5, and he was like, this is actually kind of awesome. I was like, yeah, it is pretty awesome. But as we were talking about it, I was like, they nail the feel of this game already right away with the early combat and early exploration, the way that I think Fallen Order nailed the feeling of Star Wars, like the combat and the movie. Like, there was something about it that just clicked, and I was like, dude, this is Star Wars. This is how it should feel.
Yeah, this is Harry Potter.
And this feels like Harry Potter. So like that same like rush that you get as a fan of that series, and you're like, you're like, dude, I feel like I'm in this for real. And so, and it's that same joy that I had playing.
It's not even not even something amazing happened in the beginning. What happened in the beginning cutscene where you're in a carriage that's airborne because it's magic, obviously, but you're being carried by invisible things, and you're like, what the hell's going on? But then as soon as somebody dies in front of you, those things become visible, which is lore from Harry Potter. I go, oh, this is a Harry Potter game. Like, I immediately was like, they cared.
That little touch, my daughter called that out too, because she's playing it. She's actually farther than I am. She's loving this game. But she called that out right away. She actually said, she had a big smile on her face. She was like, I love how they had the Thestrals show up after the guys.
That's what they are, Thestrals. Yeah.
And I was like, you're right. That was just a nice touch by someone who's making.
By the way, that opening was awesome.
Yeah, that opening was so awesome.
I didn't see that happening. I'm like, okay, it's like, what is happening? They're in this carriage and they're talking, and then
I thought it would be all talking, and then you would land at the school. Like, I thought it would just be
it would just be like a generic open world RPG intro where it's like, and here's this, but no, a dragon comes at you, then you're transported somewhere else, then you're at the bank. Then oh my god, dude, it's crazy how much stuff happens.
Cool. It's a very spectacular opening.
So again, not a big Harry Potter fan, but I've been to the Harry Potter like theme parks.
Oh, nice.
That's rad.
I'm
like
so jealous.
1,000 times. So when we got to like Hogsmeade,
sounds like he loves it.
Well, I actually do. Like
it sounds rad. Yeah.
I'm not a huge Harry Potter fan. I always wanted to go to there because I like themed.
It looks amazing.
I think I just love really themed things.
Butterbeer.
I really want to try that most of all. That and I want to get my own wand, but I know that's like a lot of money. So
is butterbeer pretty much like? Is it like a?
It's worth paying the.
Is it like a cream? Is it like a cream soda malt kind of a thing, or what is it?
It's like a cream soda with like a froth like topping.
Yeah. Okay, that's what
I thought. Really good. It's really good. But anyways, the reason I bring that up is because the first time I walked into like Hogsmeade, I was like, maybe I'm a huge fan of like Harry Potter, and I just didn't.
Yeah.
This feels so good, and like when you do when you complete like little tasks, and it does that little like that little magic silhouette. I'm like, this is so freaking cool. Like it pulled up so much nostalgia from being in those Harry Potter. I say theme parks, but the areas of the theme parks, which were all Harry Potter, and that's what's playing the whole time. Like you feel like you're in a Harry Potter movie when you're in the theme park. When I'm playing this game, I feel like I'm in the movie. Like they've nailed everything.
The music's really good in this game.
Oh yeah, the music's
very,
fantastic.
Very good. Just from the ambient stuff, from just walking around to the big moments.
It changes too. When you're in the room of requirement, it's something a little more nutty and it's like playful.
Nice.
And it's cool, by the way. The room of requirements.
Yeah.
So cool, man. Like, I mean, I got like so far I only have like a potions desk and a small pot plant desk, and then I got a large plant, and that's it. That's because there's so much money. They're like thousands of dollars to make these things. So or coins, in-game coins. So I only have that and then like some chairs or whatever. But like it's still so cool that you can like customize it at your will, like using spells and stuff. Just like make stuff disappear, change the color, change the theme of the whole room. They didn't need to add all this stuff. That's my point. Is like they added all this stuff to show that they cared about Harry Potter in the world.
This feels like
you feel it on the
screen. This feels like
Mm-hmm.
a developing team that was like, look, we already know we're gonna make a ton of money off this, but we don't care. We just want to make like an actual fun game. Like we are gamers. I'm not saying this is actually who they are. It just feels this way. We are gamers. We want to make a good Harry Potter.
Yeah, they're like,
game.
no one's made one of these yet. No one's made an truly excellent Harry Potter game yet.
Yeah,
like
there are our favorites because of being like, I mean, for me being fans of the books and the movies.
There's been some fun ones, but
a handful of favorites.
There's been no like,
I've never
dude, this
played a Harry Potter game.
This is universally excellent. Like there's
this is just a good game, and it's a really good open world game, and just even the way that the world is unfolding to we're all hours in, some of us more than others, but it seems like none of us are into like the deep open world portions of it. You know what I mean? So it's like the way that they just kind of like spoon feed you.
Yeah.
The way that the world opens up
I'm
before
12
you and
hours
stuff
in,
like
and
that.
I'm just now seeing that bigger open world.
It's an incredible pace. Yeah. It's one of the best. And Witcher kind of did the same thing, where it's like, hey, here's a small open area that like this is kind of a taste of what. But like it's just there's something to be said about the way that a game dumps you into its like bigger like ideas and stuff like that. And this game nails it in every way. And again, as someone who doesn't know any of the jargon or anything like that, the game meets me on my terms, and like I'm picking up on the lingo. Like by the end of this, I'm gonna be a Harry Potter dude. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna know when people talk about Harry Potter, I'm gonna know what they're talking about finally. You know what I mean?
It's the little touches that make it feel like that world. It's the things like the paintings moving but talking to you, and the ghosts flying around.
Dude,
and
the knights are so funny. You can stop knights that are just like dancing sometimes, or like they're arguing.
I could have sworn I saw one move and elbow the other, and then they stopped when I looked at them.
It was. I saw one push the other one over completely, and the other one gets up and he goes, "What was that for?" You know, like it's just, it's so random, and sometimes I don't know if something's talking at me or to me or something like that. So like I'll stop dead in my tracks. Who said that? You know,
exactly.
It's just super immersive.
For example, each of the flue flames that you can fast travel through, every time you spawn somewhere, there's actually a face there that can talk to you.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that the whole time. I'm like, who the hell's talking? And it's like, oh, there's a face on the flue flame. Okay, I didn't know that. And also the gargoyles say some of the funniest stuff too. Like they're like, can't believe they put me next to this stupid painting and stuff. Like it's just so funny hearing some of the statues and stuff. I wanted to mention as well the upgrade system, like because I think I don't remember what level it is or what story moment, but eventually you do unlock traits, and that allows you to upgrade certain spells. And but they're all kind of broken up by sections. Like there's a dark art section that allows you to apply curses to enemies, and so like example, when you can use it most beneficially to when you're countering, and you parry and do a counter spell, and your counter spell Stupefy curses them, and when an enemy is cursed, they take more damage. So definitely do that. And also do all the upgrades for additional spell sets, because right now when you start the game, right, you start with 4 spells. And you can upgrade to up to 4 spell sets, meaning you can have up to, what is that? I can't do math right now. What's 4 times 4? 16. You can have up to 16 spells. Like you just toggle, basically you hold the right bumper and you press up, right, down, left on the D-pad, and you can toggle between certain spells. So like sometimes your battle's going to get chaotic because it's like, no, I want to try this spell now. No, I want to try this one. It just depends on how much. That's what the assignments unlock, basically. If you do extra assignments from your teachers, you get to unlock way more spells that the story won't let you see, basically. Like, I got one that's like, it freezes your enemies, literally like a glacier. Like, it freezes them. And cool. That's awesome. Like, there's just so many, god dang, there's so much stuff in this game, man. It's kind of blowing my mind.
Yeah. It's really exciting too, because they talk about things that are way outside of Hogwarts. Like the one friend you meet, Natty, I think her name is, and she talks. She
the one that plays the game with you, the Accio game,
yeah. And she talks about her school of witchcraft and wizardry down in Uganda, how it's way bigger, and they don't use wands down there. Like I had a I don't know if you guys did that, but like if you chat with her about that stuff,
I did chat with her.
Explain how her school's like much bigger. They don't use wands, but it kind of looks cool that they use wands here. So I'm used to it. Like so that made me start thinking like, oh, there's a huge world outside of Hogwarts.
Yeah.
Like, I love the idea of like my mind already, even though I'm so early in this game, I'm already thinking like, ooh, what do they do next? Like I can't wait to explore more of the wizarding. That
reminds
world,
me, there's a dueling club or whatever, and they're kind of off
like
the
a
books.
Secret club or whatever.
Yeah, but I beat all of them. I beat all those side quests already, and at the end, they're like, I was bragging about my skills, and the guy I was talking to, who's like a 3rd year, so he's like hasn't hit puberty yet. But he was like, well, if you think you're that good, you should go to Durmstrang. And Durmstrang is the school where it's like a military school with dudes, nothing but dudes. And they're just they're just the most dangerous wizards
when they
on the planet.
They come marching in during the 4th movie. They're doing like the Russian march with their big leader out front. Yeah.
Those guys are a danger and sponge. Hey man, set the next game there. That's what I'm gonna say. I want to see what the hell that school's about.
Or they'll put like a San Andreas where they have like 3 schools that you can go between or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, Who knows?
There's just so much going on in this game. I'm getting like lost because I'm so far ahead. I'm getting kind of lost in like what I want to talk about, but it could be safe to move on. I don't know. It's up to you.
And the only drawbacks of this game so far are like the face animations while they're talking, and it's not I shouldn't say drawback. That's
not all the time, though,
it's an over exaggeration. It's more just like it's not excellent. It's not like to the level of you just play God of War, or even the second Horizon game has a huge step up in their facial animations from their first game. So like,
they're not so much just doing gestures, repeating gestures that don't match the words. Yeah.
Right. Right. So,
but in Hogwarts Legacy, I will say the actual cinematic cutscenes look awesome. And then as soon as you start doing stuff. It's like the in-game question and answer stuff that's like, well, they just look robotic, Yeah,
which is totally fine. It has a little bit of a last generation, like a good-looking last generation game vibe to it as they're talking. It's not bad. Don't get me wrong.
I agree.
But I was trying to think of like, hey, are there any ways to make sure people don't think we're just gushing about it because we just want to be positive? Like, no, it's truly an excellent game. It's deserving of the almost 90 it has on Metacritic. I think it's at an 89 at its highest level.
At a 90 if we didn't have a lot of stupid reviewers that were.
Agreed.
Dude, there was one that was like, they literally started the review with like, I hate everything about this game existing. Like, and I'm like, so they gave it a 1 out of 10. And it's like, okay, you're telling me the game is literally 1 out of 10.
That sounds like a user review. Like, let that be a user review. That's not a professional outlet.
Exactly.
Hey, that's our next tryhard tracker, you guys. Is game
there we go.
Let's get there.
Also, I wanted to mention that I know why I felt I was missing something. The puzzles in the game, they're totally optional, but there are some doors that you'll see that have math equations on them. I highly recommend at least Googling those and figuring those out because I can't explain it verbally. You'll just have to read about it. Okay. But because that nets you a lot of extra coin and a good gear. And then there's the chests that are eyes, and they have like eyes, and as soon as you come up close to them, they latch the chests. Those only have coin in them. So the way to get those is you use the disillusion. What is it called? Disillusion charm, where you can go invisible. You can make yourself invisible, and you can sneak up to it and open it. So that's like sometimes you have to look these things up to find out what the hell am I supposed to do here. And then there's Merlin trials, which allow your gear inventory slots to increase. So nice. Now I'm because at 20 is a stupid number. That's a really low number. So I'm up to 28 now, and I rarely get full.
Yeah, and get in the habit of like if you're not using that piece of gear, sell it because like it's not doing you any good in your inventory, and it's super quick to fill up your inventory, and destroying it nets you nothing. Like in some games, it might give you material or something like that. No, you're wasting money, which is kind of hard to come by in the early hours of the game. I know later as you start like poaching animals or whatever, you can grab animals and then sell them and whatnot. Like that's a good way to make money. But like until then, there's no consistent way to make money outside of just exploring and everything like that. So make sure you're selling and everything. So that's interesting. I didn't know that the Merlin trials gave you a big inventory because that will clear up a lot of my problems too.
Yeah, now I'm at a point where it's like I did 2 and that gave me 4 extra slots. I did 6. That gave me 4 extra slots. Now I'm up to like, okay, go fight 10 more. And I'm like, oh my god, 10 more.
That's another thing I like about this game is a lot of games I won't do challenges. Like anything that I have to like research or read, I'm like, nope. Just if it doesn't like just happen organically, or you give me an absolute reason to do it, I'm not going to do it. This game
doesn't sound like very Souls-like of you, but continue.
I'm only Souls-like in Souls games.
Fair enough.
But like for this game, like the challenges are kind of just unlocking themselves as I progress naturally.
Yeah.
And everything that I'm doing, I want to do. So I'm just like running into stuff, and I'll just be like, okay, that looks interesting. I do it, and then I'll be like, boom, completed this challenge. Boom, completed this challenge, and then I go into the challenge and look at it, and you receive this reward, and you receive this reward, and I'm like, hey, these are things I actually want. And so now I'm looking at the challenges and going, okay, I want to do this, even though I normally wouldn't do it. Now I'm going, I want that reward, so I want to do that.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
I just feel like, again, I know I'm gloating or whatever, but I am blown away by how good everything is. Now I'm only in my first 4 hours, so maybe in 15, 20 hours, I'll be like,
it'll increase for you, I think.
It only gets worse. It's all downhill.
Yeah.
I'm a little worried that I'm still in the first third, and then like by close to the end of the second third, I'll be like, oh god, we're still doing this. I'm hoping it doesn't have that effect on me. But
I feel like it's
so far, the reward system is really good.
I feel like it's going to be how I play every open world game, and that is, I get obsessed with just doing everything and leveling my character up and getting the best loot. And then something switches, which normally, to be honest, it's, hey, this other game's coming out. I need to finish this because I like to finish things before I move on to something else. And so that's when I'll just start mainlining the story. And that's why a lot of times I'll switch to open world games. I'll go, all right, I'm going to play on easy now because I want no resistance. So I imagine that's what's going to happen with this game. I'm going to absolutely love my first 10, 15 hours, do everything, level up, get as badass loot as I can, get really good at the combat, and then I'm going to be like, you know what? I really want to see how the story plays out because I also want to play other games. And
same here. I feel the same way.
So I definitely will do that. And then eventually, because you guys know me, I've been on this podcast long enough, I usually go back and play these open world games. If they're good enough, I play them again. And my second playthrough, because I already know everything, I'm usually not rushing and I'm just like enjoying the game again. So I kind of see this game as being that type of game where it's like, I'm absolutely loving how they're drawing me into everything. I'm loving everything. I'm blown away by everything. It's the best game I've played so far this year.
Definitely.
I mean, I know we're February 10th, but we've also
there's still been some good games.
It's been a big year already.
I've already played like 3 or 4 really good releases this year. So this is a really, really good and one of those at the end of the year. Well, I will say to everybody, this was unexpected. This is a surprise release for me.
Even for those of us that were excited for it, like this was like one of my number 1 or 2 most anticipated of the year. I still didn't expect it to be like this level of good.
Yeah, I mean, I was excited for it.
I was like nervous excited for it. I was like, please don't be bad. Please don't.
I know, that's all of us were saying that up until release. We were like, oh God, please.
It feels like where we are with games media and stuff like that. No, we're not talking. I'm not even talking about the crap with this game. I'm talking about general games media. There's a lot of negative Nancy's out there, so it's really hard to release a high reviewing game because a lot of people will just hate on you just to hate on you. So this game had all the reasons in the world to be hated by games media, and yet still, for the most part, yes, there are some slow or low ballers that I thought were ridiculous, but most of them are 8s and above. And they're saying this, they're singing the praises of this game.
It's crazy to think about the controversy, which we're not going to dive into. I'm not.
You don't need to. Nobody.
It's interesting that even despite the controversy, it's still reviewed that well. That really speaks to how undeniably good the game is.
And when I'm aware of the controversy and stuff like that, like most stuff I see is very positive. You know what I mean? Whether it's a review or someone talking about it or the 3 of y'all gushing about it, you know, like it's just like it. I feel like there's
feed is now full of people like glowing. Did you know you can do this in the game?
Like it's the most streamed game right now. It's one of the most best-selling IPs.
It's a good reminder that sometimes the squeakiest wheels don't represent a majority of people. So sometimes it's better just to let them squeak away and be there whining whatever.
Well, we talked about
some of them are professional reviewers,
I think sometimes I'm guilty of this. I think everyone on this podcast is guilty of this. Sometimes we assign too much to just a loud, very small subset of loud voices about a thing. We're like, man, people are mad about this. And it's like, actually, there's only like 4 people out of the millions are mad about it. They're just loud and have a big microphone. So like sometimes that's the case. And 4 is an exaggeration, but you know what I'm saying. Like it
happens all the time.
Happens all the time. But you know, it's great to see how well this one's doing. You guys actually gave me an idea for our next Try Hard Tracker segment. We're gonna find games that are universally beloved. So like we'll have to set like if they're like a 88 or 87 and above on Metacritic, let's find the most try-hard reviews on those, and we'll rank the most try-hard reviews.
We gotta find the equivalent. There's an equivalent of that in movies, and there's this reviewer named Armand White, who every movie that had like 100% on Rotten Tomatoes for several weeks, he's the one that goes, no, it's terrible, and then like tanks that freaking score.
So it goes to 98.
Like Get Out, for example. Get Out was at 100% for several weeks, and then he turned into his review, and it dropped it down, and everybody was like, his review, it doesn't even make sense. It's just like, it's not as good as everybody says, so therefore it's rotten.
That's where those aggregate sites need to be a little more aware. Like, all right, don't count this guy because he's ridiculous.
Exactly. This guy's just a tryhard.
That's why I've learned, and I'm not saying I didn't care about reviews before. I absolutely did. I used to fight on social media about review scores
way more. Yeah.
All the time because I really did care about like, how could you say this game is bad if I love it? Now I'm like, okay, don't get me wrong, I still watch reviews, I still check meta, but I'm like, I kind of want to form my own opinion now. So I don't actually want to go in with any clouded version of what I'm about ready to experience. So I like to experience things on my own. So even if I'll check a score or something like that, I usually won't read the review because I don't want to know your opinion. I don't want to know why you don't like it and all that stuff. Unless it's a game I'm like scared to buy. Like Wanted Dead, like that's coming out. I want to buy it, but I'm still like, is it really going to be good? Or
Yeah,
is
I got
bad?
It is.
So I will check.
It is going to be good.
It is going to be good.
But for this game, I was like, I don't want to be clouded by anything. So I didn't pay attention to what anybody said. And I just went into it with my own low expectations. And I absolutely loved it. And I think that's the best way to approach most games is if you're uncertain about something and you want actual feedback to help you buy something, totally understandable. But don't let other people's opinions cloud your enjoyment because you're like, well, they don't like it. Why do I like it? Something's wrong with me. No, just like it if you like it. If you don't like it and everybody else likes it, don't be a tryhard, but, don't like it.
I find that people, and this is mainly coming from the movie sphere because that's kind of what I pay attention to more. The main example from last year was Everything Everywhere All at Once. People were letting the praise of that movie, some people that I know personally, were letting the praise of that movie get too loud and taking it, like weighing it into their experience watching the movie for the first time. And it's like, guys, that's on you. Like, that's not on the people that love the movie. I'm sorry.
Right.
Like, I mean,
Agreed.
It's the same thing for games. It's really on you how you take the information.
Whether it's negative or positive. If you take too much on of other people's
You're choosing the baggage you bring in with you.
That actually happened with that movie. I still haven't finished that movie. And again, I didn't know what I was getting into when I watched it. So I didn't know what the movie was about. But I heard nothing but great things from specifically you guys, but other people too. And so I started watching. I'm like,
pretty loud.
This isn't that great. This isn't that great. And then I just walked away from it. And I'm like, I'll just watch it again when I'm in the mood. Maybe I'm just not in the mood to watch a movie and pay attention. Because sometimes that happens. Sometimes I'll put a movie on. I'm like, I'm not even.
That's kind of in my phase right now because last month was Sundance for me, and I logged like 100-something entries for the month of January in terms of movies on Letterboxd. So like now I'm in a phase of like I can't pay attention to it. Like there's a movie that I talked about with Kyle on Current Cinema. I didn't even finish it. I just know the movie really well. Like so, like I got like a 3/4 of the way through it, and I was like, I'm not really in the mood to sit down and watch a movie right now. I kind of want to just play this game forever.
There you go.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yes, so it's fair to say Hogwarts Legacy is a very good game. We'll be talking about it more in the coming weeks because it is such a big game. It's an open world RPG, so much to explore. We'll be talking more.
And it's incentivizing replays because we already know you're going to have 4 different experiences,
right? Depending
on the house you're in. So that's interesting.
Yeah, yep. So there's good replay value there if you enjoy your time. So yeah, there you go. Hogwarts Legacy has delivered in beyond, I think, what we were expecting.
Yeah.
So looking forward to playing that some more over the next few weeks. Another game that came out, we'll talk about the Nintendo Direct here in a little bit, but I just wanted to throw out Metroid Prime Remastered since that's a new release. That's a pretty major release that they shadow dropped during the Direct. Would not have expected that. Like if someone were to be like, here's my dream list, I'd like roll my eyes at that one. Like, really, you're saying Metroid Prime?
Shadow dropping Metroid, yeah, right.
Sure they are.
It was really cool because I saw Gaston post before the Direct that he wanted was Metroid. He was like, I just want Metroid, and to actually be able to get Metroid Prime, like not only an announcement about it, but like
he just wanted to hear something, but he got to play it that day if he bought it. I don't know, but you know, like
he
most
bought
people
physical.
Which comes out in 2 weeks.
What are you doing, bro?
Bro,
you say this with all the love
excited. Just buy the damn game, bro.
Okay, but to be fair, if you're a Metroid fan, you know that those games, like for example, the Wii trilogy of Metroid Prime games became impossible to find just a short while after it came out.
That's a good point.
So I kind of understand the people who are like, no, I'm getting a physical version, and you cannot take this from me. Like I kind of
physical versions of Nintendo games will always be worth something, so not a bad investment.
Not a bad investment, but so I downloaded this.
Still think of those cartridges.
So I downloaded this and played it right away, thinking like, oh, this will be a really cool higher res version of a 21-year-old game. This game came out in
21 years.
2002.
Not playing that game. That's crazy.
2002, this game came out on the GameCube, and then of course it was re-released as part of the Metroid Prime trilogy on Wii. I think that was in 2009, something like that, somewhere in that range. But we haven't had an entry in the Metroid Prime series since 3. Since 3 came out. All 3 of those games are great. I played them all on the Wii, loved it, even with the Wii controllers. The controls. I know people don't love the aim at the screen controls all the time, but I thought it played pretty great using those controls. I enjoyed it. So
apparently you can still do that with the nunchuck or the Switch or whatever.
You can, yeah. So I turned this on thinking it would be like a fun, nostalgic half hour of my time, and then I'd probably be like, all right, maybe I'll come back and play it someday later. So I fired it up, and I was blown away right away. I was like, this looks like a new game. Like, it looks like if you would have told me, like, hey, here's a trailer for Metroid Prime 4 and shown me clips and screenshots from this, I would have believed you. Because again, it's on the Switch, right? Keep in mind, it's on the Switch. The Switch has limited capacity of what it can do. I get that. Mm-hmm. But I'm playing on handheld on the OLED, and I'm just the lighting and the clearness of the textures, I just can't believe it. And it runs super smooth. It's like it's running so smoothly. And so as I'm playing it, I'm just like, this looks like a new game. So yes, I know it says remastered, but it plays and looks way better than it should. I have no idea how they did this in secret and then just now announced it and released it.
Yeah. It sounds like more went into it than just like slapping an HD button, like turning the HD button 100%. On or whatever.
The controls are totally different. So if you guys played the originals, they designed it to be an adventure game that's got some first-person shooting combat in it, but it wasn't built to be a first-person shooter. This feels like a modern first-person shooter while maintaining kind of their adventure, explore and scan, and you're going to find all kinds of doors and pathways you can't access yet. You have to come back with a new power. Of course, that's classic Metroid. Yeah. And so it still maintains that Metroid adventure feel, but it plays like a fantastic first-person shooter. And the lock-on, I think some folks who are first-person shooter purists will hate the lock-on, but I think the lock-on's pretty awesome because it actually enables you to do this really cool strafing and dodging moves while you're locked on to an enemy, which I think is really awesome. You can kind of quickly circle around because a lot of enemies are in these circular arenas, and so that makes it really easy and it makes you feel really strong right away. You feel very powerful as you're locking onto everything. So I love it, man. I'm only just now getting to the second boss. I'm not that far into it. But I absolutely love it. I think what's cool too is that the campaign. Have you guys played this game? Like, have you guys played and finished this game?
I played it back in the day. I'm not a huge fan of this series, but I didn't like these types of games growing up. So like, this is one I'm eager to try as like an adult with like.
So you wouldn't be like, yeah, I remember the story of that. Like,
no. I beat the first game, but it's not something that I have like a lot of memories of, sadly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's
I bought this version though.
Yeah, I'm excited to play this version just because, again, like a lot of my gaming sensibilities have changed since this game came out 20 years ago. So it's something I'm really excited to play.
Yeah, the Metroid games they've always kind of leaned a little bit into just little touches of horror with their sci-fi.
Yeah.
And it's not like Dead Space. It's not like grotesque, but there's just kind of like this tension, and they make you wait till you see certain monsters, and there's like, it's very quiet. Something's abandoned, or like
Returnal vibe to me. I'm not saying they're the same, but I
could see that. I could see that.
Yeah, well, you're crash landing on a planet, right? Like it's like they're kind of similar like things that you're doing in that game.
And this has the classic Metroid story where you are sent to answer this distress beacon, and then things go awry as you're exploring the space station. And then you, of course, lose all your powers. You start with a bunch of abilities, and you lose them all because of things that happen. And that's
it is Returnal. What the hell did I buy this for?
The way that they throw you into kind of this jungle type atmosphere. And again, it doesn't look amazing. It's not going to look like a new console game, but for a Switch game, I'm really impressed with how it looks, especially
Nintendo does a really good job of locking into these art styles that are in some ways ageless and timeless, you know, and this seems like it's a really good example of that.
There's plenty of examples of like just kind of flat terrain that's not going to knock your socks off. It's totally fine. But then it's more about like the lighting and the enemies and the movement and just the smoothness of it. Some of the corridors you go through, the detail they've added into the textures, like it's those kinds of things. There's still elements that are like, all right, that's a little dated, but like a game that's dubbed remaster from a 20-year-old game, Holy smokes, man! Like they knocked it out of the park.
That term is getting more and more like nebulous, right? Like
I feel like
remaster.
It is,
It just feels like, we've had a lot of examples lately where I'm like, well, this feels really like a lot of work went into this, know.
Yeah.
Like Crisis Core like comes to I'm like, are you sure this is not a remake? Like it just feels like y'all put a lot of time into this.
That's a great example. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm kind of liking that more and more as more games are coming out and kind of like a little more tender love and care is going into them.
So if you do play this, I highly recommend using headphones as well. The sound design is just amazing. You can tell that they really increased and improved the way that the music, of course, is awesome. Like Jeff, if nothing else, I think you'd like the soundtrack of this. It's got a really cool
I remember the soundtrack being good.
The Metroid tune is classic, but they do some revamps on that are just, it's really good. Also, if you're a Halo fan and for some reason you never played Metroid, like I really do think this is a great game.
This is actually why I bought it. That's exactly why I bought it, and I was waiting for you to finish, and I was gonna say this gives me like you're like, well, it's not like the most beautiful game. I'm like, dude, I absolutely loved replaying all the Halo games.
Yeah.
This is what I feel like this is me replaying Halo.
Honestly, it's very much like when I replayed Halo 2 and 3, where it's like these games still look really good. Like they hold up well. They don't look like
they're not
games.
like they're not
right.
modern games.
But you're like, dude, this and it's smooth, right? It's just smooth gameplay and it's fun. Like the story is interesting and same vibes here too. So so good.
Oh, excellent. What an absolutely outstanding surprise by Nintendo.
Loved it. This has been 2 for 2 on the big 3 delivering on surprises so far this year. With Hi-Fi Rush and now with this one. I'm loving the surprises. Keep them coming for 2023. One more thing I'll mention is that this was developed by Retro, who of course we know was given the reins for Metroid Prime 4. And so I do wonder how much of this I wonder if we should expect something like this, just the next level, right, for Metroid Prime 4. And if this is a precursor to remakes of 2, remasters of 2 and 3, and then a launch for 4, we have a lot of amazing experiences ahead of us.
That's got to be coming. 2 and 3 is like they're probably already ready, and they're just gonna sprinkle them out over the next year or two.
3 is one of the best games I've played, and I'm not like first person games I've played. So good. 3 is amazing.
Yeah, I hear good stuff about that one. I never made it that far in the series, so like those would be the ones I'm super interested in checking out.
And what you were mentioning earlier, Kyle, yes, you can switch controls because of course the Switch. Little Joy-Cons can be used as Wiimotes. They're very accurate, so you can point at the screen and do that whole deal if that's what you want to do. And you can also switch to GameCube controls. Some people like those, but that feels more old school. Like I never loved the way it controlled on GameCube. That's why I never got into it until it was on the Wii. It's a lot more like when you're aiming, you stop moving. So it's just a weird system that they set up on GameCube. But if you're used to that, if that's your thing, you can switch to those controls. I love the modern controls that it defaults to.
I think those type of quality of life changes are gonna like be the tipping point of like maybe the things I had hangups with back in the day.
Yeah.
So that's super cool.
Yeah, I understand why people kind of skipped it. They're like, this isn't quite the first person experience that I wanted. Now it does have some platforming stuff, but not any more than like you would see. And like the Halo games had elements of that too, where you could jump on platforms and like move. You have to raise bridges and stuff like that. So it's got elements of that, probably more than a Halo game would, but not as much as like I thought Doom Eternal went a little overboard with their platforming they added in. And so I don't think it's to that level, but anyway.
I'm a big scanner now. Like I like scanning in games, so it's like
scan everything.
You mean every 2 seconds you're doing Revelio and Harry Potter?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just doing Revelio every 5 seconds. Like it's same.
They're like the game's like, dude, it's just grass. There's just grass.
Right.
There's nothing around.
The same orange thing that you can't get to is still underneath you.
You're just running into a wall, Revello.
Please.
It's just the wall.
So
leave the wall alone.
I think a lot of the things about that game I'm going to really enjoy these days. So like that's what I'm really excited to get to. And bring on 2 and 3 like right away, please.
Yeah, so good. I'm really loving it. So I'm hopeful. I don't see why they wouldn't make 2 and 3.
Oh, that's
like
what I
have
was
to,
say.
right?
I'm not
that's the
saying
windup.
They are doing it, but I think it would be cool if they were to release 2 6 months later, 3 6 months later, and then 4 6 months later, which would be winter of 2024.
Yeah, I could see 4 maybe being like a swan song type of a game for the Switch before they launched into their next console, which hopefully is the Switch 2. But some sort. But yeah, I'm with you. I think that kind of cadence would make sense, and it would be amazing if they did that. I think it'd be awesome. So highly recommend that. It's $40 if that interests you. Again, it's a Nintendo game. It's not likely to go on a steep sale, although maybe you'll get like a 20% off over the holidays or something. But
this one will go on sale. It just won't ever be like.
It might go down to like 30 or something.
It won't be like a base price of $19.99 for like 10 years.
Yeah, right. No, if anything, it'll go up in price after 10 years.
Yeah, right.
So they'll take the digital away.
Nintendo tax.
Physically.
That's how they do it. All right, we'll talk about other stuff we're playing. A lot of demos that have come out, but we'll get to that towards the end. Before we move into some headlines and talk through Nintendo Direct, just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on The Last of Us Episode 4. Well, 5 did air today. Some of you might have had a chance to watch it. I have not. So we won't really dive into 5 yet. But what'd you guys think of 4? A much shorter episode and just a much different focus compared to the highly lauded and applauded Episode 3. What do you guys think of Episode 4?
I think it was a good follow-up to what 3 was. And we talked about 3 a lot last week. And it was a longer episode. It was clearly less violent. It was more about love. It was more about characters. 4 is quicker episode, and I wouldn't say it was like overly violent, but it had action, which has not been like at the forefront of this show so far. So I thought it was a nice like action episode, I would say, and I enjoyed it. Now there's some subtle differences from the game, like when he realizes that guy's not really injured and drives through and all that stuff. You know, in the game there's like 15 enemies. In the show there's like what?
2 or 3.
He just saw the second person on the roof and he was like, that's enough evidence for me. Let's run him over.
Yeah. He's probably done stuff like that before to survive, you know?
Right.
Use a similar tactic.
Kyle, I thought the same thing. I was like, what if in the show they somehow say, like, maybe she'll ask him, like, how did you know? And maybe she won't. But if he was like, that was me and Tess and I did that.
Yeah, she did. She asked him.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah.
She said, how did you know that guy wasn't really hurt?
I've been on both sides.
I've been on both sides.
Oh, that's right. He did say I've been on both sides. That's right.
Which was actually straight from, I think, the game. I think
that's awesome.
I
love it.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff was very similar.
There's actually a lot of great stuff in the episode from the game. Like they took even, like the stuff that we love.
The store, like the little convenience store.
They took the stuff that we love from Ellie, like her silliness in the joke book and all that stuff. They put it in the show verbatim.
I love those verbatim.
Yeah, the pun book is great. Yeah,
dude, I live off puns. Like that's my favorite thing. So like listening to her read and watching his reactions, I'm like, I would totally.
And it's the same book too. They went out of their way to give it like the same cover like that it is in the game, and
they really this episode was really emphasizing. Yes, they did some other stuff to set up episode 5, which aired today at the time of this recording, but it was really showing that Joel was kind of warming up to Ellie. Like that was like the main.
Well, it ended on that. Well, it didn't end, but like towards the end of the show, it ended on her doing a really funny pun.
They shared their first moment,
and him finally laughing and them both laughing together. So, like you said, like it was a shared moment.
Barriers were broken.
Yeah. Well, I thought that at least the first third of the episode, especially, they did a good job of reestablishing Joel and Ellie as the central characters of the show, and then having their relationship start to grow a bit. I thought that was great. Even when they're laying out there, and he's still in super serious mode. Everything she says is either annoying to him or like he's tired of explaining stuff. But then he finishes the punchline of that joke about the scarecrow. Yeah, and he kind of has a smirk, and that's when the moment I was like, they're doing this right. They're giving these little just kind of feeding you a little bit of like, hey, their relationship is growing just a little bit. And
there's actually a really funny moment at the very beginning of episode 5 too that deals with how Joel's demeanor. Let's put it that way. And
because
she's just a really funny moment between
she's them. A very outgoing, silly teenager who's like saying jokes. She finds the dirty magazine, like all that kind of stuff that happens.
She's still a kid. There's still a lot of childlike, you know.
He's just and I think when you play the game, it's tougher. They did a good job of it though in the game. It's tougher to have nonverbal reactions in games that hit really, really well. And in a show, a person, in this case, Pedro Pascal, is nailing it, where he can just have these very subtle responses to her, where you can tell he's like kind of annoyed, but also like he likes her because she reminds him a lot of his daughter. Like there's just he can portray that in a way that you don't really pick up on in a game unless you played it 20 times like most of us.
He had practice with Grogu, Now he's got a real actor to he's got a real actor to play off of now.
He's got a talking Grogu going around. Yeah.
I did like the part. It reminded me of Last of Us 2, the part where there's a guy who gets injured and he's begging for his life, and he learned his name is Brian, and that whole scene was very heavy, and it
was super heavy.
They did a good job of introducing like, hey, it's not just like Uncharted body counts where there's hundreds of people dying, and
it's the weight of taking a life,
Yes, yeah, and so I did.
And that ended up being a topic too for like Joel and Ellie later, when they talked about taking a life.
Well, it was the first time that he showcased like care for her emotional protection, whereas like up until then it was all about a physical protection. But
it was all about you are cargo. He literally
I'm
he
just
did call her
supposed to get
cargo
you some,
in this episode.
I'm supposed to get you there safely, but now he's like worried about what she's going through, like emotionally and stuff like that. And it's good. Yeah, you see a lot of barriers break down in this episode between them two. And
now is that guy with the long beard and long hair, is that guy who plays Tommy? Because it sounded like him.
Yeah, yes. It is. That's Tommy. Yeah.
Okay. As soon as I heard him talk, I was like, that sounds like Tommy from the game.
What a beard that guy has.
What a
my beard looks like that when I get older. Yeah, that was cool. And I actually really like the casting of Melanie Linsky as like the lead of that group of rebels, because like as the showrunners explained it, they cast her specifically because she comes off more human and less malicious, and she just comes off like a human just making decisions. You know what I mean? Like, yes, she does have like a revenge vendetta, which they further explain in episode 5. But like, okay. But like, you get the motives, and her having like this kind of light voice and stuff. It just does come off like
she's not a mustache twirling bad guy like the governor from Walking Dead or something like that. Like it just seems
wrong, and that's really
she doesn't come across as like evil or intimidating. Yet at one point in the episode, she like walks in that room and just goes,
boom,
just shoots him in the
Yeah.
There's definitely when you hear more about it, like you're like, okay.
You kind of get it. You're like, I kind of get what she's doing this for.
The context of that was funny too, like what Derek was talking about, where she's like, "Do we need a doctor?" Like, no, this guy's dead.
No, this guy was gonna be dead regardless.
Don't need him. Okay, I'll just go shoot him. Cool.
Great.
Like,
that's good news for me. Yeah.
Like, I know there was more to it than that, but like that, just kind of this context of that moment was kind of funny. But
it was cool. This show's great.
Overall, I thought it was a great episode. It's more my type of episode, but like I said, the tones of 3 and 4, they contrast, and I'm all about contrast.
Yeah, one's about setting up what the stakes are, what are we fighting for, and the other is like putting it to the test. You guys are gonna love this episode.
Oh my god, dude! I told y'all last week. I was like, I have a sense that there's gonna be a lot of action in the next episode, and just remember that I said that.
Because there's none. But
because he's wrong.
Because I was wrong. It was actually more of Bill and Gay Guy or whatever.
They came back. They actually didn't die. They were in the bedroom the entire time.
It's just an hour and a half of them boofing.
They're still alive. They're just shirtless in the bedroom.
Yeah,
like that's what I said. Don't come in the room.
Don't come in.
Yeah. It's gonna be a mess. Dead. They were attached.
I think the success of this show completely hinged on the what's the word I'm looking for? The way that the main two leads get along. Their chemistry is what I'm looking for. The chemistry between the main two leads.
Sure.
The Joel and Ellie, are they believable? Not only are they good actors, of course they're going to cast good actors, but is their chemistry believable? And I think the moments in this episode solidified that. I already kind of thought, like, I think this is a good casting from their first interactions in the first few episodes of the show. But I think this episode kind of solidified, like, this was a great matchup. Like, these two just fit well.
They even have great chemistry with
in interviews.
In episode, that too. But like in episode 5, you know what the episode's going to show you, and in the video game, they have great chemistry with the new characters that they're introduced to, and the show replicates that perfectly in episode 5. Like I'm like, I believe
that's what that's what I'm most excited about, is like seeing how episode 5 plays out, as far as I know who's being introduced into it, because they ended 4 on that, and I was like, ooh. this is another part of the game that's very memorable to me.
This is a high, this is a high moment in the
I
game.
I really liked this, so yeah.
The whole hour, and Kyle can attest to this too, flew the F by.
Yeah, like it was crazy because I started at 7 when it came out, and we start recording with Mountain Time. We start recording at 8 and 8:30, and I was like, oh my god, there's only 30 more minutes for the because it felt like there was so much time before we had to start podcasting before.
It was almost like right away they started planning something that they were going to do, and then the rest of the episode was just wall-to-wall stress and like thrills. It was just like, wow, like just they mapped it out perfectly, and they showed restraint in the first half of the season deliberately to make it feel like you feel that stress, like you feel that edge of your seat type of thrilling moments. God, these guys are just, they got a hit on their hands, man.
Yeah,
they really do.
Big time.
They're delivering, that's for sure. All right, well, let's jump into some headlines. We'll do the Nintendo Direct last for our headlines to cover the stuff that was covered there. I'm gonna kind of start at the bottom of the list here and work my way up. We've got Hot Wheels Rift Rally, which is a new mixed reality racing game. If you don't know what that is, remember the Mario Kart racing game where you could set up stuff in your house and then you're actually it's like a AR type experience. They're doing a Hot Wheels one, same developer, same development team is creating this game for Hot Wheels. It releases March 14th for PS4, PS5, and mobile devices, iOS specifically. And you control an RC car that can digitally transform into over 140 Hot Wheels vehicles, priced at $130. So if that's your thing, if you kind of like the combination of physical and video game, if you like the Mario Kart especially, I do like Hot Wheels. Like Hot Wheels was a favorite toy of mine, not the favorite, but it was one of the. It was up there.
So I like Micro Machines were definitely like collectibles.
I love the Micro Machines cities that would like fold up into like a bucket.
Yes, the van. I had the van one. Yeah,
I had a gasoline tank, and you open it, and it was like just a town, and there's like
I had one that was kind of shaped like a
right
lunchbox, but then would open up to the city with all these tunnels and stuff. Too.
It's too cool. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So this is not Micro Machines, so don't get too excited. This is Hot Wheels. Hot Wheels. Micro Machines is the best.
Boo.
That comes out on March 14th. You guys all watched this. I'm the only one who didn't. That's 9 minutes of Star Wars Jedi Survivor gameplay has been released.
You're a big fan.
Gee, goodness.
I mean, my reasoning is twofold. One is I just didn't make time to. But number two is I was kind of like, I'm okay not seeing how it plays. I'm going to buy this thing day one and play it. Like, I don't necessarily need you to sell me more on it. I don't need to get more hype about it. So, like, I didn't really do it as a purist. Like, I just want to experience it for myself. But I was not. I didn't feel rushed to go.
It's kind of like how I felt
we've talked about this before, where we don't. Once it's like a sequel and we already know what it is, we're like,
yeah. It's like Zelda. God of War Ragnarok was that way. We didn't see trailers for months, and we were like, I'm good. You know what?
Yeah.
Just release it. It's fine.
Just release the game. Yeah.
And sure enough, they just did nothing but teasers. They didn't do walkthroughs, overviews, whatever. They did enemy overviews, I think, a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it was easy to just avoid that and be surprised by everything. And
so I watched it, but I just watched it just out of curiosity because a couple other people were saying this looks so good. I was like, all right, well, I like the first one, but I've obviously been the one that gets made fun of for my takes on it. So I was like, I want to see.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Do you have any specifics?
We definitely don't need to bring it up. I'm actually saying we don't need to bring it up.
I'd rather talk about Hogwarts Legacy controversy than bring up that.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Actually, I'm with you.
I actually would like to talk about Hogwarts.
Did anything jump out at you guys from the 9 minutes?
I mean, you get a really good look at like the dual, like using two sabers at the same time, and I was like, yeah, this looks really good. I mean, just like you're saying, you're not gonna leave that going like, oh, I'm gonna buy it more now. Like you're already like
I'm already all in.
But it's cool to see that stuff. Like you get a really good glimpse of that world that they're on. Looks great. Like you get a really good glimpse of like maybe 6 to 8 enemies that you might be fighting in the game. It was cool just to see the animations. Like it's just a cool check-in. Like, hey, the game is working, guys. Here it is.
Everything looked, at least combat and dodge-wise and stuff like that, movement-wise, everything just looked slicker. And at least the world that overview was on, the world that they chose looked way more open to me, to my eyes, because he was at the beginning, he was like, oh, there's where we need to go, but he had to go like all the way around. Like it looked like a bigger world to me.
I'm hoping there's more, and this is where my criticisms came in from the first one. Like, I just want more like exploration where it's actually like we were talking about with Hogwarts, where you get in this world. I'm not saying it has to be open world, but open area would be great. And you just explore and you find things. And in the first one, my criticisms were I felt like I was jumping around everywhere. It was all platforming, and I hate platforming. This one, I don't mind if you have platforming, and like if you have like a main mission where you're like, hey, I got to go in this cave to get this blah blah blah, and there's platforming in it. Awesome. But I would like a hub or an area where you like explore. So if that's something that they're going to do, I'm not saying they have to, but if that's something they're going to do, I am 100% on board with that. That's something I would personally like.
Yep, this game now comes out at the end of April, right?
Which is totally fine. I'm rooting for all games to be.
I think it got bumped back like 5 or 6 weeks.
I think every game, whatever they think they're going to come out, bump it 5 or 6 more weeks to get that extra.
A few more weeks. That's right.
We were wrong about tiers, though. We were wrong about tiers.
It's a few months before that game comes out. Don't worry, guys.
There's still time.
I feel like,
dude, 3 months away. If they delay it now, it's just mean. Like if they just got a new
trailer, it would be very mean. You're right.
Normally, I have like a gut feeling, not as strong as Kyle's, but like normally I get like a feeling where I'm like that game's gonna get delayed.
Zelda's coming out.
I don't feel like Zelda's gonna get delayed for some reason.
I think it's landing.
I don't have any strong feelings about it. I just lean into the joke. I am very aware that we haven't seen literally anything about this game.
Right.
Like we've seen some trailers, but like I remember when Breath of the Wild came out, like they showed like a 45-minute like Nintendo Treehouse, like just slice of just nonstop gameplay, and like there has been nothing like that. Not saying that's like a big indicator or anything.
Keep in mind that was
I'm aware of that.
That was 2 months before that game came out. Keep in mind, like we got that in January. That game came out in March, so we are now in February. This game's come out in May. They might not.
The Treehouse one I'm talking about came out in E3, so you got it was months.
Oh, it was a different release time frame, yeah.
For Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, for Breath of the Wild.
So they were showing it before they announced the Switch. I mean, this was a Wii U game they were showing.
Yeah, I think it was because that was a Bridge game, right?
Keep in mind the Switch was announced in October. We got a full in-depth gameplay stuff for Breath of the Wild in January.
Yeah, but you might be talking about the Wii U.
Yeah, they were talking about Breath of the Wild for a bit, but I think it was just that year before, though. It wasn't like years before or anything like that.
And I'm not saying Kyle's wrong, but here's where I think this would differ. One thing is Breath of the Wild was a complete change to Zelda, so I think showing it off more, and I'm not saying they're not going to. I still think they're going to do a Nintendo Direct where they're like 45 minutes of us explaining to you everything.
I mean, if they did it for Splatoon, they're totally doing it for Zelda.
Like here's the thing. This is kind of what
and that's kind of how they show their games.
Gotta take a Splatoon shot every episode.
This is
sorry, guys.
Pet peeve for me. Like I like mystery, so if I know this is Zelda and I know the basic concept, like this is an open world, there's going to be a lot of stuff to do, that's all I need to know. I'm good. But then, and I'm not making fun of this guy, I know we've made fun of him before, but then I go into a certain group and this guy posts as soon as the trailer's done, he's just like, too many unanswered questions, is there going to be this, and I'm like, dude, why can't you just enjoy the mystery?
The mystery works for a sequel, I say for sure. So it's and that's what you're saying there. I'm pretty sure it's what you're saying at least. So
it's like the first game you needed to know because
I agree with that. Like there isn't a lot of unanswered questions. Like we know that it's going to control a lot like Breath of the Wild. We know it's probably going to take place in a similar world, just maybe a little more vertical and layered. There's things you can extrapolate by just knowing that it's kind of a continuation of the last game, without taking these try-hard takes of like, they're really playing their cards close to their chest with this one.
Probably some climbing mechanics that are similar, right? Like a lot of
maybe it's just everything's gonna feel a little better. Maybe they, maybe they take away the destructibility of the weapons because everyone hated that.
Here we go. Destructibility of the weapons. Do they have classic dungeons? I do think as somebody who wasn't like pissed off, like, oh my god, they don't have classic dungeons. I enjoyed, what they did. The shrines were
still fun, but yeah.
I can miss the dungeons while also going they didn't need to be here. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's not that's not the game that was here. That they were making.
But I think it's pretty obvious. It'd be I would be shocked if they don't have classic type dungeons in this open world. I think that's what's going to be the big changes. Is there's going to be they've listened to the feedback and they're like, yeah, we're going to do it, but we're going to do it our way. We're Nintendo. We don't do things your way. We're going to do it our way. But yeah, I think that stuff's coming. I just don't personally need to see it. I'm going to be fine, even if you leave it out. I'm not going to cry.
They handled Majora's Mask in a similar way, where they're like, we got a new Zelda coming out, and it looks weird, you know, and that's kind of what they're doing here. Like, this one looks dark, it's a little zany, you know, and like, but like, you knew when you were playing Majora's Mask, it was going to control like Zelda, the camera was going to be the same way, the C buttons were going to work the same way, you know, and I feel like you could take a lot of those.
That's a good comparison, going from Ocarina to Majora's Mask. Yeah, a lot of the systems and visuals were similar. That's a good comparison. Yeah. Speaking of Tears of the Kingdom, since we already talked about it a little bit, it is the first Nintendo game to get a $70 price tag, which is big news, and understandably, a lot of thoughts and feelings and emotions about this. I think the biggest thing being like, you're not even putting out a Switch 2 or a Switch Pro or like new Switch or whatever you're going to call the next thing. Switch U probably, but whatever you're going to call the next system, like this isn't even like a modern console compared to the other two, and you're going to charge 70. So I understand the question marks around that. I do, but I also know, like, hey, they've kept their prices steady since Metroid Prime came out. Like, since the GameCube era, they have not raised their game prices alongside everybody else. So like, I understand.
Still, technically, they haven't. They've only
still
done
technically
it
haven't, because they confirmed that, hey, this is a case-by-case basis, and I'm like, I understand.
They say that? Those are going to be case-by-case?
Yeah, and I watched.
So not every game going. So like Pikmin.
They don't have any other ones right now planned for this price. It's just this one for right now.
That's why I said I think that the logic I was trying to use is, I get the whole argument, and Jeff was using this argument. He's like, hey, it's not on a better platform. Why would you charge $10 more? Right. And I understand that argument, and I get it, and it makes sense. But I don't think that's their reasoning or their logic. I think their logic is, dude, we're giving you a 100+ hour game. We're not gonna do this with Pikmin 4 or something else. We're gonna keep that at 60. But this is worth $10 more.
They said that this is the biggest file size game they've ever created ever,
and it's like
small. Twice the size of Breath of the Wild or something like that. You know, so it's
Breath of the Wild was 12 gigs, and this is 18. So it's
so it's not twice. Okay,
it's 50% increase, which is still crazy, because like I download games on Steam and they're like 70 gigs. You know what I mean? It's like the big ones at least. So it's crazy that they fit these games into such what feels.
I don't know how Breath of the Wild is that small. That's insane.
I have so many games on my Switch, and I only have, I think, 2 gigs of memory, if even that. I don't even.
Yeah, same here. I have like 30 games on my Switch.
Nintendo needs to talk to the Steam folks. Like, they need to start helping them out.
I can fit 5 games on my Steam Deck.
I know.
With an external.
Dude, totally, absolutely.
Speaking of that, I just downloaded Hogwarts on my Steam Deck. Very interested in seeing how that plays.
I'm curious.
I don't know if it's verified or not. I'm not sure.
Well, speaking of Nintendo, since we're on the topic, they do sell a lot of consoles and games. I don't know if you guys knew this, but they sell a lot.
What?
And so Pokemon Scarlet and Violet sold 20 million in 6 weeks, which puts it already in the 4th best overall sales in the Pokemon series, just behind like the original Red and Blue. I think there was another one that's ahead of it. I think Sword and Shield still ahead of it.
Maybe X and Y. I know that one was big.
For comparison, Sword and Shield sold 16 million in its first 6 weeks. So this is already at 20 in its first 6 weeks. So like, it's selling at a higher clip than Sword and Shield did. So chances are pretty good it will not finish 4th. Yeah, they sell like crazy. Do we know
how many Switches have been sold?
Yeah, that's the next thing. Is it's up to 122 million now, which means it passed the PS4 and Game Boy in console sales, and it is now in third place behind the PS2 and DS, which are both over 150.
These freaking nerds did it again, like Nintendo.
I know.
Like, they did it again. They figured out some way to dial into, like, let's get Switches in the hands of people who just normally don't buy something like this. Just like they did with the Wii, and it worked. It's so funny that they could also do something like the Wii U, which like just resonated with nobody, with like 4 people on Earth, you know, like.
It's so funny because I have to say Xbox gets shitted on a lot, but I think Nintendo gets. I'm talking about gamers. Shit on Nintendo probably more than any of the big 3, and yet they continue to like outsell even PlayStation a lot of times. when they hit, they hit. When they don't, they miss very, 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 very.
Yeah,
it just goes to show you though that like the voices that we sometimes interact with and hear and follow, they, in my opinion, it's a flip of the coin if they actually represent the majority of people or not. Like sometimes they do, like with the Wii U, but sometimes it's like let them say what they want. The numbers speak for themselves. Like I'm sorry.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends who are like, I own a Switch and I never play it. I'm like, yeah, but you bought one, and at the end of the day, that's all that matters in Nintendo.
Yeah, you and 122 million other people bought one. So 122 million? Oh my gosh, dude, that's crazy.
And here's the thing, I was one of those that I bought like way too. I bought like 5 Switches, by the way, but I mean for my kids too. But I bought a lot of Switches and I hadn't been using it. But the last 2 years, it's become one of my favorite consoles. Like it's just something I enjoy using.
Niche. Not maybe niche is not the right word, but it's a very specific type of gaming rig. You know what I mean? So not everybody likes the handheld game or likes you know a vast array of like Nintendo first party games, which is totally understandable. But people show up and buy these things all the time, you know, like it's specifically this model, you know, it's very strange that they hit this kind of gold again.
Yep.
All right, so that's the Nintendo news. Nintendo's selling some stuff. I think they're going to sell a lot of copies of Zelda. It's probably fair to say. Derek Teague left. Did he just say I'm out? That was it?
I didn't hear the goodbye. Oh,
okay. He's back.
I guess
he's
something
back,
happened. All right.
He's back, folks. He's back. All right. Microsoft.
I was having like everybody was blurred and I could barely hear you guys, so I thought it was just me.
Is it better now?
Kyle's clear. Jeff and you are a little fuzzy.
Weird.
So I think it's me. I think it's on my end.
Okay, sounds good. Microsoft revealed and launched their Stellar Shift Xbox Series X and S controller, which I think looks kind of cool. It's got this color shifting blue-purple shimmer to it with this rubberized grip. So if that's your thing, if you like getting special controllers and new colors and whatever else, go check out their Stellar Shift controller. It's normal price. I think it's $70 like most of their controllers are. So you can go check that out. Hogwarts Legacy, which we talked about a lot today, and it's worthy of all that discussion, by the way, is one of Steam's biggest ever single-player launches.
Awesome.
So if you go to Steam database, it'll show you like concurrent player peaks, and it surpassed Fallout 4 and now is second only to Cyberpunk 2077, which
and this was like these numbers came out before its official release on Friday, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So this is the people who like bought the 72-hour pass version and stuff like that. That's just so wild to me. Like, good for them.
Yeah, and I think it broke some Twitch records too for streaming.
That makes more sense to me because there's depending on how I don't know the exact numbers of how many people that said they were not going to get the game for whatever ethical reasons or whatever their reason is. So I can imagine the streamers are getting a bigger audience with this game because a lot of people are refusing to play it, but they still want to see it, and they don't. Yeah. And you gotta weigh in.
And that human nature's a bitch, ain't it?
You know?
Yeah, it'll get you.
I gotta see it.
Yeah, it'll get you. Yep. So obviously very popular commercially and critically, which is awesome. Derek's not here to hear this, but new demo for Wolong is arriving in a couple weeks. And unlike the previous time-limited demo that we got last fall, this is going to be available on PC, Microsoft, and PlayStation consoles. But this will actually carry over. It'll transfer your progress over from the demo into the game. And you'll get some DLC called, it's just an item, the Crouching Dragon Helmet. You'll get that if you do the demo before you play the game. So there you go. So if you're going to play it on Game Pass, why not try the demo on Xbox and then if you care about that game, if that's your thing. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, as it's now called.
I changed the typing on the note.
I gave you a little comment on there too.
Oh, you did? I missed it.
Yeah. My comment is just nice. So if you guys didn't watch the Grammys, the guy who read off the winner for the first ever video game soundtrack Grammy Award, he said, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Like the spacing of, like the timing of it was off, and like it was just cringy. But
it was who announced it. Let me check.
It was not quite to the level of John Travolta's Adele Dazeem, but it was close. It was close.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah, that one was like
very
way
good
F
friend,
off. Like who
Adele Dazeem. Like what?
That's crazy. That's kind of wild that it. I mean, I guess it is a great score, but
Well, this is
considering
the
the other
Dawn of
nominations,
Ragnarok DLC specifically, which I haven't even heard.
Really?
Yeah.
But it was up against Guardians of the Galaxy, and I thought that score was tremendous. So
it was amazing. Yeah.
Interesting.
So I'm actually not sure of what the date range for the Grammy Award for that was. Like, was it the previous full year? I don't know what the date range was, because both those, Valhalla and Guardians of the Galaxy, came out.
Yeah, the Grammys are way behind. I don't know why their award, their what do you call it, qualification window or whatever. I don't know why it's so behind, but you tend to be like, whenever you see nominees, even for
like a year and
commercial
a half behind
songs,
or so,
you're like, why are we still talking about that Lizzo song or whatever? Like,
it's like an 18.
That was forever ago. Yeah,
lagging 18-month lag thing. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of dumb.
Whatever. It's just cool to see video games get recognized at an award show like that. Even if I don't care about the award show and I don't watch it, I don't have any major interest in it. I'm not saying it's not worth it. If that's your thing, it's totally fine. I just don't care that much about it. But it's cool to see video games and their soundtracks, which have been amazing for decades now. It's great to see them getting some recognition. BioShock creator Ken Levine has a release window for his new game Judas, and it's not soon, guys. It's not soon. It's anytime between now and March 31st of 2025. So
cool.
Buckle up.
Wow. I think it's pronounced Judas.
It's Judas. Yeah. So there you go, Judas, which is coming out.
Cool.
And by the way,
probably dead then, but that's cool. That's awesome. We'll all probably be dead then. You know,
only 2 years.
World's gonna end. It's fine. But yeah, cool. We'll get there.
We'll play other stuff before that. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, and then Microsoft. Oh, we already talked about that one. Nintendo Direct, I think, is the last piece of news that I've got, and so we'll go through some of the major highlights from the Direct. Overall, did you guys all watch the Direct, or at least highlights of it?
I skimmed.
I just watched
way after it ended. I skimmed through it. Yeah.
It's okay. So I'll go through some of these. Pikmin 4 trailer and not only did it show a ton of cinematic stuff, but then also a lot of gameplay. We saw a lot of gameplay in this trailer, and a release date of July 21st. So Pikmin 4 looks pretty fun. Looks a lot like Pikmin 3, but it looks like a lot of fun, like really good. You guys interested in
I've
this
never
one?
played a Pikmin, but this looks like my type of game for sure.
I'm too stupid for these types of games. They're mostly like puzzles like that. But I'm telling you, there's no hate coming from me. I love watching people play this game. Like,
isn't it like that game that came out last year that was an indie? I can't remember the name of it now, but Tinykin, right? Isn't it kind of like that a little bit? Like you have a lot of companions.
It has similar vibes because in Tinykin you got the little guys all following you around, but this is much different. It's much different. You'll see. It's a little more puzzle solving and less Tinykin had puzzle solving too.
Tinykin had a lot of that, yeah.
But it's a lot more like pick this thing up, carry it over here. It's a lot more of that, and you get different. The objectives are just different than you'd see in Tinykin. But I can see the similarities. I could see them. Yeah.
I mean, other than the name, which is very similar. Yeah.
I really enjoyed Pikmin 3. It was the first Pikmin game I played. I stay away from all Pikmin games. It was just like, it was another one of those like franchises, kind of like we were making fun of it earlier, Splatoon, where I'm like, no, I don't want to touch this. Like, this is not something I care about. But when I played Pikmin 3, I played it with my daughter on the Wii U, and I absolutely fell in love with it.
It's so charming.
I already pre-ordered Pikmin 4.
It's got a very distinct art style that is immediately recognizable.
I would highly recommend, if you can get Pikmin 3 on sale, and it is a game that is made by Nintendo that actually does go on sale.
They regularly discount it, yeah.
You should buy Pikmin 3.
Okay. I might as well.
It's absolutely.
Because I actually did do the I don't know if they announced it formally in the Direct, but the voucher program being back, I did take advantage of that, put the $100 in for both Zelda and for Pikmin.
Oh, nice.
So I'm totally getting Pikmin regardless. It's just maybe I should kind of at least play a little bit, maybe diddle 3 a little bit.
3 might have the demo still.
Which is what I did. I did Pikmin 4 and Zelda, and I actually think on my next check, I'm going to do the voucher again, and I'm probably going to buy both the Kirby games. So it's a nice way to save a little bit of money and get really good games.
Yeah, it is. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, basically you spend $100 and you get 2 vouchers for new games. So basically you're paying $50 per game for games that are normally $60, or in the case of Zelda, $70. It's just a nice way to trim off a little bit of money if you know you're going to buy it anyway. I think that's a good way to kind of ease the pain of especially Zelda price increase. But the fact that Nintendo rarely lowers the prices of other games, and so it works for a bunch of pre-orders, including Advance Wars and the new Bayonetta game and Pikmin, like we talked about in Zelda, and then a bunch of stuff that's just come out in the past year. So Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and Fire Emblem and a bunch of stuff from this past year is also
out. That's what I like. I like that they included pre-orders. It's not unusual to get discounts off stuff, obviously, that already came out, but to have it to where you can pre-order at a discount is awesome.
It's very.
I wish
they
would do this system more, because I've done this before, the certificate thing.
I wish PlayStation and Xbox would do it too.
Yeah, I wish it was a little more consistent or often.
I do too, Kyle. Yeah, because it's one of those things where it's like, hey, you're kind of ensuring that I'm going to spend money on your games.
Yeah, I'm 100% going to give you $100.
You're giving me
buy 2 of those games.
I was on the fence about a $60 game, but if you're going to give me games for $50 now, like maybe I'll buy them now. Like there's something about that.
It's that much of a push for me too.
And that could have been the other reason. I'm not saying they did this, but like think about it, like. The big reason I wanted to pre-order Zelda right away, but when I saw the certificate program and the increase in price, my brain, I'm a numbers guy. I'm like, I'm saving $30. Whereas
you are, because if you're gonna buy Zelda at $70, like you're already almost there. It's 100.
Get a second game. Zelda would have come out at 60, then I'm really only saving 20, which is still significant, but it's not as big of a jump for me mentally. As soon as I saw I could save $20 off Zelda, I was like, definitely doing it, and I'm doing it right now. I'm not waiting.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. So there you go. Don't forget to check out that voucher program. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 DLC was shown in a trailer, new character and some other new stuff they're adding. I think Volume 3 comes out this coming week. So if you got the season pass for that, or if you just are buying the DLC in chunks, you can check that out this week. Does that come out with content too, like chapters or like missions or something?
I think the characters come with missions because that's how they're introduced in the game. Is like you'll do like a couple missions with those characters.
So it's not just here's a new character to play the base game. It's like we're adding to the game, right? Like,
I'm wondering if the last one that's coming out at the end of the year is going to be like a big piece of content. You know,
remember the Golden Country from 2.
Yeah, they'll do it like how they did.
Yeah, that's right.
Chronicle 2. I think the last wave is like their big content.
Yeah, that was a huge piece of
DLC. It's like 20 hours of content, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was like a game.
Another game almost. Yeah.
The second one I didn't do it, but this one I will do it.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it for this one.
I'm gonna skip ahead through some of these announcements, the stuff I care about, so you can feel free to go watch it if you're interested. But Dead Cells Return to Castlevania DLC looks really cool. Yeah. I think Dead Cells is an awesome game, and including Castlevania content and that vibe totally makes sense for that game. That drops on March 6th, so you can check that out. Tron Identity is a really cool stealth-looking game. If you ever played Volume by Mike Bithell, this is also made by Bithell Games. They're making Tron Identity, and that comes out in April.
They did John Wick Hex too.
And they did John Wick Hex, which is a kind of interesting take on strategy, because as you everyone pauses moving, but when you move, everyone moves. Like it's almost super hot, but like a strategy, isometric strategy game with a super hot rules. It's interesting. Let's see here. I'm jumping ahead. A couple new things were introduced, at least new for me. I never played Ghost Trick Phantom Detective. I guess that's a remake of an old Capcom game. That comes out this summer. Deca Police is an anime thing. It was a little slow going at the beginning. I was like, this is some fluff. All right.
I started it and I left after I realized I didn't care about any of the first half announcements. And then
it picks
up all these waves of news. I'm like, wait, what?
Wait, what did I miss?
Yeah, it was.
So they showed a little more of Bayonetta Origins, Cereza and the Lost Demon, which looks very charming and cute, very much unlike most of the Bayonetta games, but kind of a nice dig into that lore as well. Looks interesting.
Watch more strategy to it.
Watch strategy. This one be the Bayonetta game that I beat. The first Bayonetta game I beat.
Yeah.
Nothing like the other games.
That's out March 17th. It is a full price game. You can use the voucher on that as well, I believe. Splatoon 3 expansion pass is now available, and it's going to have 2 waves of content starting this spring. And then the next one looked like I don't know if it's actually darker, but it looks like a darker story for the second wave, the kind of little teaser they showed. So more Splatoon 3 content coming. I thought Disney Illusion Island, which is coming out July 28th, looks really cool. I'm getting old school Cuphead animation vibes.
Me
old
too.
Mouse. It's a side-scrolling platforming action game and multiplayer. It looks super fun.
Yeah, I agree. It looks really wholesome, and they're using like old school Disney animations for Mickey Mouse and the characters that we know from like the 20s and 30s and 19.
I like it when they do these things. I forget what those Mickey Mouse games were like on like the Wii and stuff like that, but like that had like the paintbrush and everything like that. Like they had like really good animation.
I vaguely remember that. Yeah.
They always do a really good job.
They had a famous creator attached to that. Who was that?
Yeah. There was 2 of them, I think. Yeah.
I'm blanking out on the names, but they had some big names involved with those games. I never played them though. Fire Emblem Engage expansion pass DLC.
Epic Mickey.
Oh, Epic Mickey. Yeah. They made 2 of them, right?
They did 2.
Yeah, they did. They made 2 of them.
That'd be cool to bring those over to the Switch. I never played those.
You should move those. Yeah, those are easy Switch remasters for
motion
sure.
controls if you need to. Anyway.
War Inspector was the guy behind
War
it.
Inspector.
He did Wing Commander and stuff like that. Yeah. Deus Ex.
But I remember they made a big deal out of his name being attached to it when they announced it. I just remember that.
He has a very like video game name. Like
definitely.
He seems more like a character than an actual.
Like from Mass Effect.
He's a Mass Effect character. Yeah.
I was with you there. Fire Emblem Engage expansion pass DLC. They released Wave 2 during the Direct as well. So play some more on that.
Quick,
2 waves of DLC already. That game's been out for like a day.
That's what it feels like. Yeah.
I know it's been
actually 3 weeks. It's crazy.
It feels like it's been shorter. And then Harmony: The Fall of Reverie comes out in June. I don't have much to add on that one. They showed a sizzle reel that really quickly went through games. Octopath Traveler 2 still coming out February 24th with a demo out, same as the original game where they gave you 3 hours of playtime and that will carry over into the game.
You can choose any character that you want to do.
You choose any character. I started that demo and it is a lot of fun.
It is very really good. Yeah.
It's exactly what I expected from a sequel to this game. It's just more
than any other way.
Personally, and I own the first one and I liked it. I didn't beat it or anything. This is a game I really, really want, but I'm like, terrible timing. Absolutely terrible timing.
Hey, the voucher works for this too, just so you guys know, even though it's a $60 game.
Boy, I'm picking that bad boy up. I'm getting a voucher for sure.
I didn't think it was on the voucher.
Maybe I'm wrong. I thought it was.
Let me look.
I'm totally getting Kirby over that though. Like, sorry.
That's like same day release. Yep.
It is.
Yeah, but you really liked the last Kirby game.
I did.
Yeah. By the way, the demo for Kirby, do you guys play that? It's adorable.
Yeah, it's downloaded though.
It's so adorable. I played that first level and I was like, all right. Back to like,
all right, you got me.
All right, Kirby. It's just so lovely. That's how I describe Kirby games. They're just cute and.
I like how there's just a lot of Kirby all of a sudden. Like I'm being genuine.
Yeah,
like,
within 12 months, right?
Suddenly it's just like you're getting Kirby every year, guys. It's like
and even the Game Boy stuff, which they released, we'll talk about later. Like that, one of the Kirby Dreamland games there, the original Kirby game, I think.
Sure, yeah.
No,
okay.
It's not part of the.
I was wrong. It's not Octopath. Okay. But Kirby is part of
Triangle Strategy is the one that's.
Triangle Strategy is part of it. Okay, but Kirby is part of the voucher program. They showed We Love Katamari.
Both Kirby games.
There's a remaster of Katamari coming out June 2nd. Sea of Stars, which both Dan and I think Kyle, we've talked about this too, looks awesome. Kind of that retro 32-bit game. Comes out August 29th. Finally has a release date. And demo's out now, which is really awesome.
So cool, dude. Oh my gosh.
Very cool. It's a turn-based RPG. It's very throwback, like think Chained Echoes. It just has its own setup for its combat system. And boy, I just love the animation style in that game.
Yeah, same here. It's just pretty and the colors are so vibrant. Oh man, I'm so excited for this game.
Omega Strikers is a free-to-play game that you can pre-order now. Explain that one to me. But that's on.
What? No, I'll just click download when it's available.
I don't understand that. But that's April 27th.
The game itself, though, does look really fun.
It does. I'll admit. It kind of has a sports.
What is it called?
Right? It's called Omega Strikers. It kind of has like a soccer hockey.
I wonder if it has like pre-order bonuses. So even though it's free, I wonder if they're just trying to.
Well, they just want to make. They want to gauge numbers. I think they want to make sure you have it installed when it's launched. You know, that kind of thing too. Etrian Odyssey Origins Collection includes those 3 games. Comes out June 1st, and they'll also be for sale separately if you only want the individual games. But you can.
Classically, these are DS games, so there's some goofiness, like with like half the screen, like being. Like you know the layout I found was very like lackluster for me. It's like they're never going to figure out how to like get those DS games ported over in any kind of real feeling way.
Like old dated ports. Like when you after playing something like Metroid Prime Remastered, which is just glorious to behold, stuff like this. I saw the quick trailer for it, and I was like, yeah, this looks old. This looks like a port, quick port. So, Advance Wars 1 and 2, though, Reboot Camp does not look like a quick port. I love the new art style they're doing for Advance Wars. I really like it. And that has a release date of April 21st, which is essentially almost, I think it's about a full year from their original planned release date. I think it was last April they were planning to release it. So that is part of the voucher program. I know that for sure.
Yes.
And then Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe demo's out now, and then February 24th for that game. So that was kind of their quick sizzle reel. Then they slowed things down to talk about Switch Online. So they added 2 new virtual console options. One is for any Switch Online account, just like the standard paid one, the cheaper one. You can play Game Boy games, and you can choose, which I thought was really cool. You choose between the original Game Boy, so think like the weird dark gray and green vibe from the original Game Boy screen, or the Game Boy Pocket. Like I had a Game Boy Pocket for Pokemon, and it really cleans up the pixels, and it's a nice kind of almost white, like a eggshell white and kind of gray, and it looks real crisp. And then the Game Boy Color, which I remember added just some, it was like a colorized photo. It wasn't full Game Boy Advance style, but it was kind of nice looking. So you can choose those visuals for all the Game Boy games, and they are launching with Tetris, Mario Land 2, The Six Golden Coins, Link's Awakening DX, Gargoyle's Quest, Game & Watch Gallery 3, Alone in the Dark, New Nightmare, Metroid 2, Return of Samus, Wario Land 3, and Kirby's Dream Land. So amazing collection of Game Boy games to kick things off. Particularly, the first one I played was Super Mario Land 2, because I have very fond memories of the Six Golden Coins game, and like the new rabbit hat you get with the ears that help you float around, and then Wario was introduced in that game. So that was a good one. And then Gargoyle's Quest, which I've talked to you guys about before. That was a really surprisingly fun action RPG game. So that's just nostalgia, though. I mean, it's an old Game Boy game. And then if you have the Online Plus Expansion Pass, still the worst name, Nintendo. But if you have that, you get Game Boy Advance games, and they're launching with easily the most confusing Mario title, Super Mario Advance 4, Super Mario Brothers 3. So like, if you remember,
I remember all. It's such a nightmare naming those games.
But the Game Boy Advance started releasing Super Mario Brothers Advance games, and then they gave them sequels with numbers, and they would re-release classic games that also had numbers, and it was just a mess. All these were.
Yeah, imagine like working at GameStop, which I was at this time, and people coming in and being like, "I want Super Mario 3 on Game Boy Advance," and you're like, "Okay." And you're explaining it to a mom. You're like, all right, so do they want Super Mario 3 or do they?
Oh my gosh.
That's so bad.
Yep. That also is going to include WarioWare Inc., Kuruin, I don't know what that is, Mario Kart Super Circuit, Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, and Legend of Zelda Minish Cap. Those last two, I think, alone are worth taking a look at if you have the expansion plus. Minish Cap is an amazing Zelda game that gets overlooked a lot because Capcom, I think, made that one, but it is so good.
It's very good. And Oracle Seasons and Oracle of Ages are coming like later, so it's like two more Zelda games that a lot of people haven't ever gotten to play. Very good games.
Yeah, those are good ones too. And then Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga is one of those like has no right being as good as it is as kind of a little RPG adventure, but the writing is hilarious, like really truly clever writing. It's very funny. Those games. So there you go. I know I'm flying through here. There's just a lot to get through. So feel free to interrupt me if you guys are excited about something or want to chime in on something.
Hold on a minute, dude. No, I'm just kidding.
The only thing I was excited about was that Baton Kaitos or whatever.
Or almost to that one. Yeah, we'll get to that one. Yeah. Metroid Prime Remastered was then shown, which I thought, cool, I bet you that's going to come out like in holiday 2023 or something. That's really what I thought. I was like, they're finally announcing this for real. Cool. But then they're like, no, it's out later today. I was like, what?
Yeah.
What? So that was, to me, by far the most exciting announcement, as I've already talked about earlier in the show. And then, let's jump to, I've never played these.
Me neither. Like
Kaitos 1 and 2 HD remaster.
I remember them vividly. I remember the box art, and I was like, man, I really want to play these games. Never got around to it. Now might be the time. So
I watched the gameplay that I think they showed some mild gameplay in the direct, and I was like, oh, it's like Midnight Suns kind of.
Which I'm like, hey, I'm into that now.
Hey, I'm totally gonna play this then.
They use cards for this game, I think, right?
It is, yeah. You're dealt. It's just like Midnight Suns. They're dealt randomly to you, and you just got to use what's given to you at the right time. So
okay, all right. That's scheduled for the summer. They didn't give a date yet, but the summer.
I remember those being received really well too. So they're really.
Yeah, I feel like, and then visually, I remember on the GameCube being like, "Oh, those look cool," but I never played them. A new Fantasy Life game's coming out sometime this year.
They're made by Monolith Soft. So.
Oh, Monolith made those?
Oh, I didn't know that.
The Xenoblade Chronicles guys.
That's why I was excited.
Wow, no, I didn't know. That's news to me. That's cool.
I didn't know that. There's a new Fantasy Life game later this year. Professor Layton is getting a new game on Switch, which is kind of cool. I like the Professor Layton games, the ones I've played at least. It did not get a release window though, so probably not this year if I had to guess.
Fantasy Life is a kind of a fun game if you like those kind of chorey games, but there's some cool RPG elements too.
Yep. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is getting another booster course pass this spring, Wave 4.
I played them all. They're so good.
I was gonna say that game, like I won't sit here and say I put like a gazillion hours into it, but they give you reasons to come back, and it's just it's one of those games where it's kind of turned into a live service game, and it's good.
It works.
You never have to release Mario Kart 9. Like it's not. You never have to do that.
You really don't. Like they're basically treating Mario Kart 8 how like most sports franchises should be, where it's like instead of selling you on another one every year, we're just gonna give
you a new wave. Yeah, here's a new wave.
The game still looks good too. It's still like one of the best looking Switch games too.
And it runs
like every time
smooth, dude.
It's so
every time they're introducing these waves and stuff of old tracks from previous Mario Kart games.
Yeah.
They've remade those tracks in such a distinct they're so freaking different than what you remember.
Yeah. They're
if you want a comparison, go play the Game Boy Advance Mario Kart game, which I played for like a minute, and I was like, "This is so bad." Like, I know it was good for the time. I understand.
Yeah. Even the SNES one is so.
Yes, it's all everything's
flat
and weird, and like they didn't have 3D down. That's why Mario Kart 64 was such an eye-opening thing. When
Mario Kart 64 is one of the greatest.
It's one of the all-time greats
experiences I've ever had.
But that's one of the, to Jeff's point, they took these levels from these much different systems and environments, and they turn it into the modern visuals that we see today. It's just really cool.
And they made every kind of like they do with every track that came with Mario Kart 8. They made every track every lap is kind of different. Like you kind of have to go a little bit of a different route.
Talk about something made with love. Like we talked about Hogwarts Legacy, clearly made with love and care. Mario Kart 8's being treated that way, and I love it.
I feel that's such a legacy series for them that it's just, and it's one of the ones they just knock it out of the park all the time.
With Smash too, like they're doing.
Yeah, so Smash was supported for 4 years.
Yep. Well, then they jumped into another sizzle reel. Minecraft Legends still planned for April 18th. This game that Jeff and I have talked about a little bit is called Blanc. Comes out February 14th this coming week.
I'm actually pretty eager for that one. It looks good.
It's a really cool hand-drawn deer and fox friendship kind of puzzle adventure game looking thing. It looks really interesting.
Black and white, really cool art style.
Yeah, very cool art style. Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection. Those games are really fun little strategy games that have no business.
Those are strategy games? Holy
they're fun. Yeah.
Yeah, you have you literally play on a grid, and it's very line based. It's hard to explain until you try.
I would probably do better at that than regular ass Mega Man. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's April 14th.
It's very different. Yeah.
I think there's 5. I forget how many games there are. There might be more than that. There might be a lot more.
Well, and they had a Pokemon model for a while where it's you got Mega Man Network Blue and Red. Yeah. So.
Have a Nice Death, which Jeff you've talked about before, comes out March 22nd on Switch.
That was on PC first, and it's so good. It's so made for the Switch too.
There's this Japanese baseball game that's been pretty popular apparently, with these little weird kind of Wii. What were those Wii characters called? Kind of looks like
Mii's.
Yeah, kind of looks like Mii's, but a little bit chibi versions of Mii's. I don't know. They look very funny. And this is a very popular game in Japan apparently, and it's now coming to Switch. It was a drop that same day kind of a game, and it's $1 I saw on the eShop. So I was like, I don't know if I'll try this, but there you go. That's out today. New Disney Dreamlight Valley update is coming, I think in the spring. I think it's coming out. And then Tales of Symphonia Remastered is still planned for later this coming week as well. So those were the sizzle reel games. And then they wrap things up with Tears of the Kingdom, a new trailer that, to Kyle's point, they really still haven't dug in to show us, to explain to us what's different, what's new, what to get excited about. They've just shown us little glimpses and teases that you really have to go in and break down the trailer for yourself if you want to see some of those. And even then we're kind of guessing. We don't really have it.
There might be some Zelda experts that might get a couple things right, but everyone's taking pot shots right now.
Yeah. But they did.
Might be Ganon talking in the trailer. He's talking about raising an army and yada yada. Yeah. Very first time Ganon would be voiced, but it might not also be. We just kind of had a game with Ganon in it, so.
Yeah. I mean, but he's always there somehow.
Kinda, yeah. Usually, 90% of the time.
Some form of him ends up being like, "Oh, that was him. Oh, got it."
Even at Twilight Princess, he still shows up, right? You're like, "Oh, you're fighting the Twilight
He's like,
Lord."
"It was me the whole time."
Yeah, it was me all along. Yeah,
like,
of course it was. Yeah, I played a Zelda game before.
You Ganon.
Ganon. Yeah.
And then it goes to like some sitcom music where everyone's looking at each other like, Ganon.
Yeah, come on.
Silly goose.
I just pictured like WandaVision, the closing
scene.
They did show, the trailer does look amazing. Like, it looks really good. I think it's going to, yet again, another showcase for this console, which I think they're going to be pushing it to the limits. If you played Breath of the Wild as much as most of us did, then you know that game did have like its drawbacks at times. You could see even as it launched, like, all right, this isn't quite like at the time PS4 and Xbox One X levels, but it's good. You know, it looks good. You know, some of the textures and some of the, I got some slowdown sometimes when I was in big battles and stuff. Like, the game does not run perfectly. I imagine we'll see some of the same stuff with Tears of the Kingdom, but it still looks amazing. I bet it's still going to be an absolute masterpiece.
I just hope, I don't think they'll do this, but I hope they don't. I hope they don't make it so big that it has the same issues I felt like Xenoblade Chronicles 3 had compared to 2. And that is, they made 3 bigger than 2, but 3 is definitely, if you go boot both of them up, uglier than 2. Like, it's more grainy, it's not as clear. And I'm hoping with Zelda they won't do that, where they push it so much they have to drop resolution down and make it uglier. I
would say Zelda, like, Nintendo doesn't like mishandle their like big budget, like, you know, high selling franchises, but we just saw Pokemon come out in like complete dog shit mode. So it's like,
true.
All bets are off, really. But like, I have a lot of faith in like the Zelda like franchise in terms of like coming out like with a stamp of some sort of Nintendo quality approval.
But they're like, that sold 20 million copies. We're good. We can release broken games. We're fine.
Yeah, right. We don't care anymore. This is the era of Nintendo not caring. You know?
Well, if you look at some of the games they allow in the eShop, someone doesn't care over there. Like, it's crazy.
Don't care. Yeah.
Some of the garbage that releases on there, I'm like, how?
I hate that. I hate going, and I just did it tonight as we were podcasting. I hate going in their coming soon tab. It's like, I want to look at all the big games, and it's like, no, you got to go through a gazillion.
Scroll through 100 bad, like,
filter that just
games.
Filters out trash. Like, let me filter out trash.
Just filter out.
I never want anything made by someone no one's ever heard of. Yeah. You know, that's like a checkbox you put.
Yes. I wish that was there. But they did reconfirm in big letters at the end, May 12th, 2023, and they announced their collector's edition, which I've been trying to track down. I'm not sure I'll find one or not, but it sounds real cool.
On eBay for $390.
I'm not that interested in it, but it's got a really cool steel book and poster and this art book. I think it looks awesome. I love the steel book cases for those too. I think they're really cool. Anyway. That game is still coming out May 12th, as far as we know. So that's how they closed things out for this Direct. So a whole bunch of things on the Switch for this.
There's a headline that I'm intrigued by that came out this morning about Alan Wake 2 being playable from start to finish.
Yeah, well, it's not done. It's playable start to finish. Yeah.
That's crazy.
They also said that starting next year, they're releasing a game every year for like the next 5 years or something like that.
Remedy is?
Oh,
Remedy is, yeah. So it'll be like Alan Wake, and then the next year.
I was just gonna say it's Crossfire.
No. Like for the first 3 years, next year it's Alan Wake. The year after that it's Max Payne. The year after that it's Control 2. So it's like boom, boom, boom. 3 huge major IPs from them. You know, just coming out.
Break 2.
I love that game. You sign me up, man. I'm here.
Yeah,
Get Ice Boy back, and we'll let it rip.
Bobby, bring me Bobby back. All right, let's close things out with anything else we're playing or watching. Whether or not we've got it officially listed as a new game doesn't matter. This is anything. I wanted to start things off with. I finished Hi-Fi Rush. It's the first game I finished this year. Finally, I need to stop beginning games and then beginning more games and then beginning more games.
That's me.
So I was like, okay, I have to finish something. Let me go after the one that I know has like a definitive, probably 10 to 12 hour experience, which I can confirm.
How long was it?
Just under 10 hours total.
Okay.
And I didn't do much replaying and stuff. But I finished it, and that game is really excellent. I understand why it won't click with everybody, but it is so well made. It has no business being as good as it is for being like a shadow release that no one knew was in development, and like, but the dialogue is so good, like it's so funny and clever, and I found myself chuckling several times. Like the main character is like kind of like Andy from Parks and Rec. He is lovably dumb and oblivious to what's going on around him. People are making jokes at his expense all the time, and he's always slow to pick up on it. And they introduce some other characters that you get to partner up with and summon in during battles, which really open. Like the battles at first are kind of like I was frustrated at first because I was like, I don't know if I really want a rhythm game. Like I don't mind a rhythm game, but I don't know if I. But as I started to play it and I got into literally into the groove of it, combat was so much fun. Like I was having a blast, and I wasn't sitting there thinking like 2, 3, 4. Like I wasn't doing that. I was just playing, and you just naturally get. And that's why I wanted to finish it, because I knew if I stopped playing it and came back to it, I would not be as good.
Yeah, I think their compliment to the game is, and this is the reason I didn't start it until this past week, is because I hate rhythm games. I don't play rhythm games. They're stupid to me. But this one is technically, it's a rhythm game, but they don't punish you if you're out of rhythm. They just give you bonuses for being in rhythm. To me, that's how you should do it. Let somebody play it how they want, but then say, hey, if you can stay in the beat of the game, we'll give you bonuses. We'll make you stronger. We'll give you more health. We'll give you more perks. So I like that they did that, and that actually got me to go, okay, I'll download it and try it. Yeah. I mean, it's not my type of game, but it's still not a bad game. I think it's actually a pretty cool game.
And I really liked the way that, like, I shouldn't have to say this about this game.
That was my brutally honest take, guys.
That was as harsh as it got.
So brutal.
I'm gonna need a few days to recover from that.
For a game that is so silly, and it maintains its silliness, like it still has a bit of a sweet story to it. And I just mean sweet because it kind of is like, oh, that was a nice little moment there between characters, or like the way things wrap up. And then it does. They joke around about set pieces, like they talk about themselves as a video game sometimes. For example, like I had to stop a level after a checkpoint and turn the game off, and I turned it back on the next day, and you're actually in your hideout, and you can talk to characters and like, wait, how did we get back here? Like, weren't we just in this warehouse? And they're like, yeah, I don't know how we got back here. This is weird. This is gonna be awkward just to jump back in. So they'll even talk about the game, and they'll blame you, like, well, you stopped at a weird time. Like, why'd you stop? Like, so cool. Like I like the fourth wall breaking that they do throughout this game. It's very funny. It's very clever. And I think the upgrades and unlocks are fun, but definitely not necessary. But at the end, they open stuff up. There's a bunch of There's a tower challenge where you can really make things difficult. There's a rhythm challenge, and there's these doors that you keep finding throughout the game that you can't open. At the very end, they're like, now after you beat the boss and the credits roll, they're like, hey, there's these doors we just discovered. There's more enemies we have to track down. So there's like a motivation if you really like the game to kind of go back and finish. And
I see.
There's a ton of challenges, like kill 500 enemies or hit perfect timing this many times, and you unlock this big mural, and that gives you more items you can use to unlock. So like they do a good job of like kind of feeding you that little reason to go back if you really, really like it. And so I just think it's a start to finish really, really good game. And it truly does have set pieces at the end that I was like, this is pretty epic. Like these final showdowns are pretty epic and really fun. So I like it.
That's great. What a special game.
Really, really good. Between that and Metroid Prime Remastered, I'm a little spoiled on the surprise games that was on no one's radar at all this year.
That's 2 months in a row now of surprise. Like, really
what's Sony gonna do? Come on,
and
Sony.
This is the year we don't need it. So like, if you would have done this last year, I would have probably been like, dude, these games are so great. But this year, like, no, please don't do that.
Slow down.
Don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
You know how much Xbox could have used a game like this to wrap up their very weak year? Like if they're like, hey, you know what? Hi-Fi Rush was a great way to close out a weak year, though, for that. You know, like we would have been talking about it differently. But
for sure.
Whatever.
I still think they're going to have a decent year this year, and that's just going to add on to it. Because I don't think people are going to stop talking about this game because 2 reasons. 1, the way they launched it, and 2, it's a completely new IP. Nobody even knew was remotely remotely existed, made by a developer who doesn't make these type of games. So I think this is going to be a huge, bright, shining light for the Xbox this year.
They do reward some exploring too. I mean, the levels are linear, but there's lots of little corners that you can. It's got a lot of platforming in it too at times. But if you kind of like, hey, there's a big wall here, but there's space behind it. Let me go look. They almost always have something back there for you to find, which I like that a lot. Like I like that reward for being curious.
Yeah, because you need that money, dude. You need it big time.
You do. And then I wanted to point out one other thing. There's these characters you keep running across in levels, and they'll just be in random spots. Sometimes you have to like, they're almost like a secret area of a level. And it's this robot guy who's like a old noir detective, and he's got a grizzle. He's got somehow this robot has like stubble, and he's always holding the coffee, and he's always just kind of like waxing eloquent about like the sad state of things. Like, yeah, this is the way the world is now. Like he's that kind of old grizzled, world-worn detective, and he has a little assistant who's taking notes for him. And I ran into him like 8 times in this game, and every time it was hilarious. There's one time he's standing around all the stuff that's been destroyed, talking about, like, oh, look at all the pain they must have gone through, like this suffering. And then you can hit them, and he'll always talk to you if you hit him. So I smacked him with my guitar, and he goes, "That's right. Let me feel the pain they felt." Like he says stuff like that. It's so silly, and I don't know. I loved this game, man. What a blast! What a fun game. Before we dive into a bunch of demos from Steam's Next Fest and Nintendo, anything else you guys are playing, whether you wrapped it up or anything else you wanted to highlight?
I'm still playing Fire Emblem Engage. I'm not going to stop playing it. I'm over halfway through it. I think the story as you go through it gets better and better. And they just keep adding more and more interesting characters to the point where I'm like, maybe I should turn this off casual and put it on hardcore so I can actually kill off some of my older characters so I have room.
Make some space.
Because my roster is getting ridiculously big. And it's one of those situations where it's like, there's certain characters from the beginning of the game I'm attached to I don't want to give up on, but they're just, to be honest, they're kind of weak compared to the new ones you get. So you do kind of leave them behind them in a way that it does make sense to play the game the way they want you to play, and that's let people die. But anyways, I adore this game. I really think this is it got good reviews. It's not like it got bad reviews or anything like that. I just think it's a better Fire Emblem game than really it got credit for.
Yeah.
I don't think overall the narrative is going to end up being better than Three Houses, but I still think the characters and the story they're telling and the combat and everything, it's even just the presentation of the game. I think the graphics, the colors, everything, the hub world, I like the little hub world you're in. I actually like it better than Three Houses just because I thought Three Houses was way too big. This is a little bit smaller, but there's still stuff to explore. I don't know. I just think it's a great game, and I'm really, really enjoying it to the point where I told Kyle, I was like, I want to get the season pass. Like I want those.
Yeah, I'm playing through getting the new characters right now. So yeah, from the newest release, good stuff.
Yep. Oh, I have to call this out real quick because you guys will appreciate this, especially Jeff, because I know you're a big fan of not only you watch football, at least you have in the past, and music. Remember the classic Katy Perry performance where there was the shark who was off, the left shark?
Left shark, yeah.
Hi-Fi Rush has an excellent callback to that moment. That is, okay. It's out of nowhere, but it's very funny, and they actually work it into the mission that you're doing. Anyway, absurd. It's really silly. But as soon as they said it, they're like, "Where's Left Shark?" I just started laughing out loud, and then they work it into the level a little bit. It's very funny. But anyway. All right, so some Nintendo's. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I want to talk about the demos last because I don't want to close on this show that I watched. But this Hulu show that I watched, it's called Extraordinary. It's like a 8-episode British sitcom. Not sitcom. That's the wrong word. It's a comedy about superheroes. The trailer I watched for it was garbage, but everybody kept saying it was good. So it is very funny. It's like the Boys type of humor, but it's a little more absurd than that and less gruesome. I just wanted to highlight some superpowers that I thought were hilarious. There's one guy who he has a power to turn anything into a PDF. There's one guy who his butt is a 3D printer, so he can poop anything. There's one guy who can summon sea creatures, but he can't control them. So like, there's a part where he's being interviewed in an apartment on a 3rd-story building or whatever, and he's just holding his hand out, and the people interviewing him are like, "What is he doing?" And a fish just plops in right next through the window and just flops around, and they're like, "Cool, can you like make it do something?" He's like, "No, I can't do that at all." There's the main character's mom can manipulate electronic devices, but she does not know anything about electronics. So she has to take an IT class to learn how to do it. So it's that type of stuff. It's a really, really funny show. And it's a breeze, too. You guys are just, as soon as you start it, you would just plow through it. It's so funny.
I'm just looking at it on IMDb. It looks very silly.
Yeah, like incredibly silly. And
love it. Oh, yeah. And it's got one
it's
of the
girls. It's got some Dairy Girls people in it.
I was going to say, it's got the Sister Mary from the Dairy Girls. She's like the nun in Dairy Girls. She's very
I gotta watch that show. Yeah.
That show's... I didn't love the way it ended. I thought it ended on a little bit too much of a preachy serious. Now, I understand why. The creator, whatever, that's fine. But the show itself, episode to episode, very funny. Really, really well made show.
There's a great gag in the show where there's a guy with a superpower to phase through walls, but sometimes he gets stuck. He's not very good at it. And there's a part where he's like, and his clothes don't follow him. So he's like, I have to get naked for this or my clothes will like get stuck somewhere. So he gets naked and then he gets stuck in a wall and it's just his ass is hanging out of the wall for the whole episode. His ass is just right there.
The guy's name is actually PDF Man. That's his name. PDF Man. At least on IMDb. There's another guy named Jizzlord.
There is. Okay. Yeah, he's actually he starts as in episode 1, he starts as like just a cat that kind of the main character finds and she takes into her apartment. But he's a shapeshifter that has been stuck as a cat for years, and he forgot how to shapeshift back into a human. So he's totally forgot how to talk to people, and like he still has cat tendencies. And his name is Jizzlord because he doesn't remember his own name. There's also another character who has the ability to make people orgasm by touching them. And the main character goes on a date with him, and she's like. He insists on trying to give her an orgasm without touching her. Like he's like, I want to do it myself and not with my power. And when they realize they don't click and he's leaving in the morning, she goes, well, it was nice to meet you. And she goes for a handshake and he's like, nice try. And he just leaves.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
It's so dumb, dude. I love it.
All right. I don't mind a nice silly romp like that. So that sounds.
Yeah, it's good. It's good for like. It might be a good second screen experience, maybe. Unless the jokes start grabbing you too much, then you're like, okay, I got to pay attention to this.
As I mentioned earlier, I did try Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, that demo on the Switch. It is incredibly charming and, adorable, as all Kirby things should be. It's a side-scrolling game, though, so it's not like the game from last year, which was more of that isometric 3D, exploration type of a game. This is more of a side scroller where you actually have like a world map and you go to the next level and start it, and then you have like a beginning and end. It's a old school
like a Mario game.
Yeah, it's like an old school
there
Mario.
There was a 3DS Kirby game that I played that was like that I had a lot of fun with too. So I'm on board.
That's the style of game this is. It's multiplayer and
sweet.
It's very easy. These games are never meant to be challenging. These are easy games.
Of course not. Yeah.
Kind of an easy breeze and just kind of fun. So I do recommend the demo if you're interested in that. Sea of Stars is a retro turn-based RPG, and I know Dan talked about backing this on Kickstarter. This is, if you like Super Nintendo and PlayStation 1, maybe even PlayStation 2 style JRPGs, then try this one out. I think it looks great. The visuals are excellent. The combat, at least so far in the demo, it wasn't anything to get incredibly excited about if you don't already like that style. I just thought it was a good version of turn-based RPG combat. I thought they did a good job with it.
I mean, my only concern with that one, is it coming out soon?
August 29th.
Is that other one I already bought on the Switch that's supposed to be like Chrono Trigger or whatever?
Chained Echoes.
It's supposed to be a modern day classic. It's like, okay,
yeah.
I already got one.
Yeah, I would say lean into that one because I like that one a little more. But Sea of Stars is pretty awesome from what I've played so far in the demo. And then Octopath Traveler 2. I know Kyle played a little bit of the demo too. It's more Octopath and it's excellent. And the characters. So I picked the thief, and their story is instantly intriguing. Like it's a heist gone wrong, and they're trying to escape, and it's just really fun right away. And the combat's fun, and I've always liked their boost combat where you can save it up for a couple moves and then you can power up a move ×4, or you can just kind of do a normal attack. I like the Octopath combat. I think it's really fun. So, and it is more of that, and it carries over to the real game, the full game, when it comes out here in about 2
Nice. That's cool. I love when they do that.
I do too. I think it's awesome. It gives you a reason to invest in the demo. Like, all right, fine.
I was gonna say, is the demo only on the Switch?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Because if it is,
I don't know if it's on Steam, but I think it's on PlayStation 4, Xbox. I think it's on the consoles.
Let me see if it's on Steam.
I don't know if this is coming out on Xbox at launch. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think it's just PlayStation. I think you're right, actually.
Which is funny because I think
it's
Octopath on.
Octopath is on Game Pass, but it came later.
I think it'll eventually be on Xbox, but PlayStation's probably trying to block that too. That's what they do now.
They do have the demo on Steam, just so you know, which is where I'll download.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there you go. Great game for Steam too. And then for some Steam demos, I'll just mention a couple real quick. I know Jeff played a bunch. I played one called I Am Future. It's a super relaxing little like crafting builder game. So if you like those, that's fine. It's like, and they actually describe it that way. It's I Am Future, a cozy apocalyptic survival game. And so it is. You have to like make sure you eat food, but you can build little gardens, and it's just very relaxing little building games. That one's okay. Enenra, I feel like, is a Kyle and Dan game. Derek might like it, but just in terms of like its character action, it's super fast paced. It's very Japanese, so like, and it's a very early build. This demo is. They even say that's the very early build. I just thought, and the game modes are basically like training and then wave mode. That's pretty much all you can do.
Oh,
so it's very, very simple. Like, just come feel how this game plays, see how it looks. It's a small download. It's only like 10 gigs, probably because it's only those 2 modes. But I thought it looked really good, and it was so fast. Like, I'm not amazing at it. Those aren't really my strongest games to play. Like, even stuff like Devil May Cry 5. I loved that game, but I wasn't super good at it. Like, I'm not great at those games. I just think they're really fun. So anyway, this is in that same vein. It's very quick, very fast, very bloody. I think you guys might like it, though. It's called Enenra. Enenra. There's a demo for that. And then, Jeff, you played System Shock too, so I'll let you talk about that.
I did.
I thought System Shock looked and played really well. Like, it was a good showing.
I was
for that game.
Holy crap! Did they nail the hell out of this? Because it's a remake of the original game, and I've never even played the original, but obviously I understood it to be kind of like in the era of Quake and Doom, of that type of pixelated shooter.
Precursor to BioShock, not like connected story-wise, but like devs created systems.
Yeah, there's way more sci-fi stuff going on in these games, right?
And it's horror,
like,
man. Like,
and stuff like
it's
that.
creepy already. Like, early on, it's
very much
creepy.
So. Yeah, I was just very impressed by, like, yes, they still have some of that pixelated stuff.
Yes.
But it's the current era of pixelated type of first-person shooters,
but
where
some of the environments looked very sharp and clear.
Yeah.
It was a weird mixture.
And the first-person aspect of, like, whenever you have a weapon or you're typing or something like that, that looks great. There's just some environmental things where it's like, oh, this is like, it's not fully current gen. They're still obviously paying homage to how it looked before. And in that regard, I mean, yeah, it definitely is going to be a challenging game starting out, because it's kind of like, God, what's the exploration most like? I guess it's like those Doom 2 levels or Doom levels that I'm talking very early PC era, where you kind of don't really know where to go, so you have to figure it out, So you're kind of just opening doors and going, oh, that's an enemy I can't take on right now, and then you're kind of backtracking until you can fight that person.
Yeah, I got killed by some little spider
so
that was electrocuting me, and I was like, I can't hurt this thing, and so it killed me pretty quick.
All I had was a lead pipe for most of my playthrough. I only played a little bit of it just to sell me on it, basically. Yeah. But yeah, now I know that I want it. It's supposed to be coming out in March, but there's just no date yet.
Yeah.
So we'll see about that. But it struck me really well. Like, I know I'm gonna want to play it.
I know it had a little bit of that kind of like Bethesda game style approach to inventory, because you can pick up everything, even the most useless of things, and your inventory fills up so fast. So I was like, all right, I guess this is
I
one of
literally
those
stopped
Skyrim
picking everything up except for like except for basically just weapon related items. That's it. Yeah. Like,
or like usables, or
because even healing things, they kind of go on like a side inventory or something like that. Yeah.
Right. I was picking up like empty bowls and like blood bags and stuff. I was like, yeah, I might
That's
do
how I
this.
started it, too.
Then I was like, oh,
thing.
never mind. Let me throw all this away. Yeah.
And then it's all like in a pile next to a dead body, basically. That's when I decided to get rid of it.
Yeah. I have no idea if the game will end up adding the weaponry and powers that makes it truly a blast to play, but the vibe is very, very strong and the visuals are strong for sure.
Yeah. And I think there is like a lot of hacking elements or something like that, because when you set your difficulty, there are several aspects of the difficulty you can adjust. It's not just easy straight through. You can like change the do you want the AI to give you a hard time? Like meaning the ship AI or something like that. Do you want that to follow you around and interfere with your game? Then you put it on normal and it'll do it sometimes. I put it on easy. It just removed that aspect.
Same with like puzzles. You can make the puzzles like
you can make those
you're gonna
easy.
have to think or like don't even think about these. Like you can kind of change the difficulty for the different aspects of the game.
There was only one thing you couldn't change, and I think it was combat. I think combat in the demo is like normal only, and that's it.
Okay.
Yeah. But that was cool. That was cool
too. Cool game.
Definitely. I played 5 other freaking demos. I played the Sherlock Holmes The Awakened remake. Apparently the first version was like, again, this old PC era, came on a disc, looked really horrible. This remake is now in the current era of Sherlock Holmes games, meaning it's a 6 out of 10 experience. It's a little wonky. If you like detective games, you're going to like the game. But ultimately, if you've already been skipping these games, keep skipping them. That's all I'm going to say. The Last Case of Benedict Fox. This one I've been waiting for since I think Xbox showed it, right? I think they showed it like at one of the E3 type of events.
I think that's coming to Game Pass, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. This is a side-scrolling... it's a tough game. It's one of those very difficult side-scrolling action games where the enemies are very challenging, but the demo drops you in the middle of the story. So I have no idea what's going on. There's a demon that's kind of talking to you through the whole experience. The combat is kind of fun. It's just a little slow, and there is a gun you can use, but it's got limited ammo. The personality of it's really cool. It's got like a gothic type of vibe to it. That's really rad. So I'll be waiting for that one for sure for full release because I want the full story on that. Then Planet of Lana is something I played, and it sounds like one of those sex games that Derek talked about last week, and it's not. It's like one of those indie games that I love that I think Tim would like too. It starts you off in I think it starts at the very beginning of the game where like an animal companion wakes you up, and it's just platforming. There's no action in it. So it's like a puzzle companion game, and this cute thing follows you around, and sometimes you have to tell it to stay so it can stay on a button that makes a bridge go up for you. Then I got to like a hard puzzle 15 minutes in, and I was like, that's enough of that. I'll just wait for the full game. It's pretty,
the vibes that it gave me, because I've seen this game on like some presentations, maybe last year.
That's how I knew to download it. Yeah.
It gave me a little bit of vibes of like Boy and His Blob. Do you guys ever play those games?
No. What a great title. I wonder what it is.
Kyle, did you ever play that?
I think
no one ever.
I started one.
No, I'm familiar, but I didn't play those. No.
I mean, very much like you are literally a little boy who's like having a dream or something, and you have a little blob as your friend, and you have to like wander out and solve puzzles and platforming and stuff, and you have a blob.
Sounds like Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg type of vibes, that weird era of like Nintendo games.
If you played Mega Man, the blob is sort of like what's the dog's name in Mega Man who can become all the different stuff? He can become like a springboard or like he can become all the anyway. That's what the blob is. And so this Planet of Lana gave me similar vibes just in terms of like, you have a little creature friend.
I never got to the point where you can manipulate the creature at all, but I'm sure that's introduced later as you keep playing.
You have
it does seem like that kind
who's going to help you solve stuff.
Right. And there are threats. Don't get me wrong. That's where like the puzzle stuff can get a little treacherous. Is like there are some things that do want to attack your creature or attack you that you have to kind of figure out how do we get around those without getting killed. Yeah. So it's like little nightmares in that way. Cool art style. It's like half and half in terms of hand drawn and computer animated. It's really pretty game. Tape the Tape is a hockey RPG. It's really, really cool.
What?
Like, yes, you have to like build and craft your team, and there's an upgrade station before each game. The animation style.
Hockey? Is there a hockey?
Yeah. It's straight up just a regular sports hockey game that you know from like N64 era, all that stuff. It's straightforward in terms of the hockey gameplay, but in between, you're able to like upgrade your characters and upgrade your sticks, upgrade your, you know what I mean? Like you're able to upgrade certain elements. So it's like an RPG of sorts, and each game you win, you need to progress further on the map to get to the next map. The animation style is like cartoonish and arcadey. It's really, really cool and kind of funny. Like they're aware it's silly. So that one's kind of fun. Shadows of Doubt really, really impressed me. This is a detective game, but it's a sandbox detective game, and literally every map is procedurally generated. You can go into the menu and say, I want this city, and it'll say, okay, and it'll build. It's literally building the citizens of that city, each of their backstories. It's like through AI or something. It's like just generating the entire case for you. So that way it's different every single time you play the game. And you can start a city from scratch. I chose to pick a city that had already been pre-built. But everything that was in the city was not pre-built. Like basically, I don't know how the hell they did it. But it is the animation style of like a quadrilateral cowboy where it's super blocky. But they give you so many tools at your disposal. It's a true to form like detective story where you have to create a board. You have to connect these things to threads, and stuff. You have a fingerprint scanner. You can pick locks and stuff. You can have different dialogue choices with people. It's very intense. Like there's a lot going on in this game. I'll definitely get it for that, but there's no date on it. Like it just says coming soon, and I'm like, yeah, I get it. It's an ambitious game. It's gonna be a while. But when it does come out, I feel like this will be like the thing that takes over Twitch, or one of the higher rated games that that come out that year. Everybody talks about because it's a fascinating premise and approach to a detective story. Those are all the ones I got to, but I'm gonna get through some more over the weekend for sure.
Nice. I did want to call out one other one that I don't think there's a demo for it, but I did buy it because it was on sale last week. It's not on sale anymore, but Land of the Vikings. It is a Viking-themed city builder. So if you need to scratch that itch and you like Vikings, there you go.
What other cities?
Never itched in that area.
I can't imagine those cities being very in depth. Let's go put my tent over here. Like I don't.
It actually looks pretty cool. It looks like it's very, very much like go gather the wood, go gather the stone, upgrade stuff, build your village, build your roads, protect your village from attackers, and all that kind of stuff. So
I still have many other. All of mine are pretty much that I downloaded. All of mine are like adventure games, like action games. None of them are like builder, because my aversion to those games. I'm just like nah, So whatever. I'll speak to like probably 10 more demos next week. I love this time. I love this time of year.
Any type of managing.
Yeah, you're like, I don't want to do work for a game.
Yeah,
exactly.
I get it. I do work at work. Okay, we're gonna keep that at work.
Like there are games that I really enjoy that I kind of like. I'm ashamed that I enjoy so much because I'm like, this is a lot like work, but I really like this. And
that's what Arcade Paradise is, other than the games within the game itself. So it's like, why am I doing laundry and liking it? I don't want
to convince people like, hey, you should try this. I'm like, no, this is a lot like work. I get it. I understand, but like, I sometimes really enjoy that. Type of thing. But
hell, I'm doing homework in Hogwarts Legacy, and I'm like, this is great. I like homework now.
I did want to mention that I'm almost to the end of the new Valheim content, and it's freaking amazing. Like they've added so much cool
already.
Stuff. So good.
Of the content you said?
Of the current. I think there's 2 more biomes that they're going to be adding over the next year or whatever. But like, almost the end of the it's so good.
You're playing the hell out of that game. That's awesome.
I love it. So, but I think that's all we got for this week. Next week there are some more new games coming out, but I think we'll be talking more thoughts on Hogwarts Legacy, maybe a few more demos we're trying, and then I might have.
We'll be talking One and Dead is going to be a big game, and I'm going to also buy Returnal on PC. So
Returnal on PC, or if anyone's playing Tales of Symphonia, there's probably a few other ones that folks will be playing.
Wild Hearts comes out too. Damn, next week's big.
Wild Hearts. Yeah.
Is that going to be on Game Pass, Wild Hearts?
No. Because it's not on EA Play either, I don't think, right?
That's what I meant, EA Play.
Atomic Heart is the one that's going to be on Game Pass, right?
Yeah, that one I knew, yeah.
That's the following week.
21st.
It is, you're right. We're not going to talk about that one for a while, but also I'm going to be playing Like a Dragon, probably more, but Wild Hearts.
I really want to finish the second game. Like I'm way behind. I used to, like last year I had already finished like 2 or 3 games by this time. I was like, let me knock out some, and I've been behind already this year. So I gotta start knocking out some games. But anyway, that's what happens when something like Hogwarts Legacy comes out. Yeah, I know. right, guys. Well, thank you for being here tonight. Thanks for taking the time. Thank you all for listening and watching, and we'll see you next week. See ya.